Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Kale, deep right corner, Asijan, three, got it! Three ball, bang! A rank for Connor Asijan. Rebound, Nebraska. Huskers down three. Asijan drives the ball to the rack, lays it up, 1 point game. 5 point run by Asijan. Asijan drives the ball, puts it up and in with a finger roll. Jacobson and Asijan have saved Nebraska's bacon in this comeback. Drives it on Kale. Jacobson lost the handle. It's stripped by Gary down the floor. Hoiberg, Gary lays it up. Got it! Huskers up 68-61, up by 7. Under 4 minutes to go in this game. Tremendous comeback in Vegas.
But I give our guys a lot of credit. They responded in a big way. They came out. I give Kale Jacobson, I thought, was absolutely phenomenal out there, and really kind of changed the tides turned when we went with that small lineup, and we got it going. Connor had a great second half. Bryce was phenomenal the entire game. Jawan, was good. Sam, I thought, made some big plays, and a total team win.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
How are we doing?
Oh, we're out here.
Man, you ain't kidding.
It's where the magic happens. Allegedly.
I mean, we're out here, right? Your boy had to get it going. It's kind of like Nebraska's first half last night. A little sluggish.
A little sleepwalky?
No, I mean, just a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot going on.
And it always seems like that. I'm trying my best to not feel like I kind of feel like this death magnet, where just the run, this last 2 or 3 months has been really, really tough, and I think the balance is, and I have to speak on Friday at another funeral, and I think the balance is. It's like protecting your own energy, right? But knowing that, I think part of who, I've kind of been called to be, is to be there. You settle down, Coach Barthel. Is to be there, in some part for other people, right? Especially, like that's the caregiver in me. So, just balancing, and making sure that. Sometimes you need your flowers watered too.
Yeah.
But you
can't just always be pouring into other people.
No, and the line, right? It's like when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
Sometimes you just got to deal with the mud. So I just, it's cool, man. Got a chance to get up and go attack it one more time, and then get up tomorrow and see if we can do it again, man. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not really I'm sure you have noticed this by now. I'm not really a silver linings guy.
Yeah.
It's
God's got a funny sense of humor, doesn't how he kind of has paired us together.
Yeah.
And we're very much different in our outlooks.
And how we process things,
Yeah.
But I do when it comes to losing people we care about, obviously you're on a tough stretch here. There's really no way around that. And I'm very much not everything happens for a reason guy. And like some things just suck. They do, and I'm not going to try and spin some yarn about, this is all going to be for something good down the line. Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just sucks, right? But the one thing I will say that even approaches a silver lining is there is a certain blessing to have enough people in your life that you feel grief,
Oh.
Like,
yeah.
And that it's important. It doesn't make it better. Like, I get that, but I think it's important to remember in the midst of the pain, right? Like the reason you feel the pain is because of the love, right? And, I think about that. I lost my grandma and my aunt in the course of about the last year and a half. They both got really sick, and It's I was happy they weren't in pain anymore, right? And I know that's the situation with some of the people in your life. But more than anything, it's just I'm happy I have people to grieve, right? Which is a weird thing to say out loud, but it's a blessing it's a blessing to have people that you care enough about and that cared enough about you to grieve them.
Yeah.
And I think I hold on to that a lot. Just because sometimes it's the only thing that brings me any comfort at all. And I don't there's no transition from that. That's
Yeah,
just
I had a conversation yesterday. It was a long one, with a good buddy, and he sent a message early in the morning, and he said, "Hey, he's usually the guy for me.
Mhm.
Like you'll kind of know who I'm talking about. Was DJ? I'm not even gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not even going fake." And he sent a message early. It was like 4:30. I'm like, fudge. And he's like, "Hey, this just father to father. Hit me up when you get some time. I'm on East Coast time, so I'm up early for a walk. Head to Basilica, and at 8." And caught up with him yesterday for, it's one of those deals. I had to put my AirPod in because I'm trying to, like, I'm multitasking.
Mhm.
I needed my hands, but it was one of those conversations where it was just like father to father, like his peers. And when he hung up, he was like, he said something. He goes, now keep in mind, what he's done for me,
Mhm.
right? Both literally and figuratively. And he said, "Man, I needed that. I owe you." I said, I'm like, isn't this rich, right? Like, I mean, no pun intended, but I'm like, it's not how this goes. And he said, you just never know
Yeah.
when you hit the mark. So I hung up and I thought about it for a second. I was like, you know what? Guy's got a funny sense of humor, because here it is, what I didn't want to do, being something for somebody else
Mhm.
that's always that for me, and it happened on accident.
Yeah.
And it was enough to like do the next.
Mhm.
I won't stretch it. At least the next hour or two at a relatively high functioning
Sure.
level,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of get that. Like you just to have the opportunity,
Mhm.
I think is something that, I mean, if you can rally, because it's not, you're right, right? I'm not one of those guys that, because one thing we do share, I'm not one of those, well, I wouldn't change a thing. There's a lot I'd change.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'd rather have loved and lost than not have loved at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true either. You know, give me the choice and start fresh. See what
Yeah.
I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I get it,
Yeah.
right? There's a certain level of pragmatism to me that um, I think makes me, I don't know, sometimes likable and sometimes frustrating at the same time, right? All of a sudden you break out with these linear deals. But um, I think for me, just thinking about like collateral damage,
Mm.
I think is tough,
Yeah.
right? When there's other loved ones and there's kids, and
Yeah.
in this case with Danny, and um, he just was at our parents' meeting last week, and we're gonna get Will up at Westside, and I have a special, Luke's my guy.
Mhm.
He's D-line. I've talked about him a lot.
Mhm.
We found him on accident, kind of. He's young. He's playing on scout squad.
Yeah.
He plays the piano. He can play the guitar. He's just like this. He's just a technician.
Mhm.
And just to think about what those guys are going through, and to set up the sessions at school. And I watched the deal on this morning with his family, and they have all these pictures, and he's like got his West Side gear on, and um, Coach Sikora got his start in strength, and because I do think we have one of the best strength, if not the best, strength and conditioning in the state. And to think that he started out in the penal system
Mm.
as he wasn't an inmate.
He was like a guard.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
to our strength trainer and Coach Sikora, who was coincidentally just at his dad's funeral last week, to think that he got in the business because of David. Just happenstance.
Yeah.
It was a lot to process in a short amount of time, and then to turn around and to do it all over again. And it's weird how sometimes I make these analogies to sports.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm complaining to you about the first half of Nebraska, I'm like, I'm turning it. I'm going to watch Connecticut.
Yeah.
And USC.
Yeah.
I said, stylistically, it's got to be better. What I say, it's got to be better basketball.
For sure.
Do you know why I didn't change the channel?
Competitive stamina.
Competitive stamina.
Yeah.
Competitive stamina.
Trying to endure.
I'm like,
yeah.
Because it's just not in my, I'm like, I'm not quitting these guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang in there.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the second half, isn't it weird? Like,
yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I do that, it's silly if you don't know me. But if you do, it's like that's totally the engine
mm-hmm.
that makes the thing go, right? It's just the ability to
keep going,
to hang in there. So Nebraska got it done, and it's a lot better show.
yeah.
Because what I tell you early, I said, if with all this talk about ASU playing seven guys, and so it'd be the most Nebraska thing ever
to drop it,
to not win this game.
Yep, and then you'll be mad about it.
Yeah, and I told you, I said, because I know what I'm on the cusp of.
Yeah.
Right, like I feel.
Yeah, that's
a meltdown coming.
It's weighing on you.
So I was like, I'm just gonna tell you, if this doesn't go the way that I want it to, like I'm hanging on by a thread here. So
yeah,
this could get. I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
And sure enough, nah, we're good.
Oh, they hung in there.
No, we're good. I'm also happy. It changes the trajectory of the day.
Sure.
But I'm also happy they moved the baseball game to 2:32 because I want to. I told you I wanted to see it, and I wanted these guys to get it in because I want to see where both these teams are.
Yeah.
Creighton playing really, really well. I told you 6 series.
Yeah, 6 series in a row.
6 series wins in a row, and is Nebraska gonna be able to? I told you I saw some signs at K-State, and then the opener happened at OSU, and I'm like.
Then they got hammered on Saturday.
Yeah,
and then bounced back on Sunday.
I'm like, okay, let's see. So I want to see kind of where these guys are at today, and then all of a sudden I'm back being competitive again.
Mm-hmm.
So the correlation of
well,
I snuck in some good music too, so that helps.
There's a definite overlap there with Connor Esigian too, because that's a dude in terms of competitive stamina.
Oh yeah,
like. I'll ride with Connor Esigian. I appreciate that dude. Like, I don't know if everybody knows what it's like to go 0 in a basketball game, like where you actually play a decent amount and people are counting on you to make shots.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't happened to me a lot, but it has happened to me. Certainly not at that level. But, like, you hang a 0-7, 0-9, 0-11, especially in a critical game the way Esigian was against Iowa, that's a hard taste to get out of your mouth. Like that can affect your confidence pretty dramatically. And for him to come back and do what he did in the second half there, like I'll ride with that guy.
Yeah.
That guy has some level of competitive stamina or
– Did you stick around for his interview? It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they piped it back in because Georgetown was warming up.
Okay, yeah.
Because, they go back to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, getting Connor mic'd up. Before that it was Degenhart, who looks like he's about, I don't know, 38 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bucket getter. I think Boise. I think they win. I think they win the thing.
Yeah. Boise, I mean, they probably should have been the NCAA tournament. Like
to be honest, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good. But I will say this. If Nebraska can get past Georgetown, because I think they're going to find that Georgetown is probably I think they're more talented.
Yeah, Georgetown's capable for sure.
They're more talented.
We saw what they did to Creighton. That was it was sort of fluky, but it was also real.
Oh, that second half? Yeah, they stepped on the gas.
Yeah, the first time they played?
Yeah, they stepped on the gas. They pulled away.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
That's in there.
Yeah, we'll see if they can if they can rally, but man, and they get to split the money.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead then. You know what I mean? Look,
go get paid.
I wonder, and I need a few more details, but generally speaking, I think it's up to Coach Hoiberg. Now, he's obviously got
the split.
Yeah, I think he's
I
obviously.
didn't realize that.
I mean, kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their money. I don't know what he's got to give to the athletic department. I think Uncle Dan has got to get his cut. But I don't think it was any coincidence that we saw the 1890 social media blast, and I mean, it's alive and well, especially with the House Committee coming up here on the 7th.
Yeah,
like we'll see what happens.
That's going to get really interesting.
Yeah, so what I hope is they do everything at once.
Yeah.
So I hope if there's questions or they need to make the amendments or whatever, like I hope they do it all at the same time.
So I think that's the goal. I think that's why it's taken so long. It's because it keeps getting sort of not rejected, but a judge keeps looking at it and saying, hey, this part doesn't work, go work on that. This part doesn't work, go work on that. So I'm hoping if it gets approved on April 7th, it's because all of the ducks have been put in a row.
Yeah.
Now I get that's a little optimistic here for the NCAA and
come on, EJ,
and for the government for that matter. But
get your guy.
Come on, EJ, what are we doing here?
Well, he doesn't have a stake.
Well, yeah, that's a struggle.
I'm out, man.
You're out?
Yeah. I ask all the artsy fartsy people if they have or people that work with their hands. Hey, you guys got any paint sticks? They're apparently not.
Should ask some kindergarten see if he gets a popsicle sticks.
Yeah, these guys won't roll with popsicles. Look at these big old heads.
I mean, you need like a dozen of them, but you could do it.
I mean, this is industrial strength. Look at the nugget on Coach Barthel. He needs more than a popsicle stick. Coach Williams, he's cool. We got him rolling.
Well, yeah, he's rocking the shades.
I hesitated to bring football coaches. I felt like we should have done basketball with all the.
You gotta be careful out here.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, man. And I like it. You're gonna be mad at me. I get it. I typically do like most people.
Yeah.
Now whether I outwardly express that or not is something completely different. But
deep down, you like most people.
Yeah, I wish I want the best. I want the best for people I don't like.
Yeah.
But so it took everything in me to not chime in yesterday because it wasn't really my place.
Yeah.
But man, I didn't get it. I
On
did
which
not.
side?
Man,
or both.
I did not get Jacob's stance.
I didn't either.
I did because you have to be when you hard line.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly didn't want advice, and I love Jacob, so I'm not. I mean,
this is Bigelow, not Padilla, just for the record.
Yeah, he can, and it's funny because they're pretty tight over there, right next door to me, literally.
Does he live over there too?
Yeah,
they both do.
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's insane.
I knew Padilla was.
It's insane.
I didn't know Bigelow was.
Yeah, right there.
That's hilarious.
Right there, as Bo would say. You have to be careful when you paint that narrative about timing and relevance, and who cares about what.
Yeah.
And whether whether what's being said really matters.
Yeah.
Because if he went very literal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to be the hill that he died on. But what I would have said, and he clearly said he didn't want any coaching, so I was like, I'm done.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he ain't trying to hear it, which is fine. Like, I can respect the hustle.
Yeah.
But what I would have said is, like, who decides who the receiver of the information gets to decide how much they care about it or if it's relevant.
Yeah.
Because even if it's in season, you're going to face that same scrutiny.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, who cares?
Well, especially
or what do you know?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? So I was like, ooh, careful.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that everybody cares about football all the time because some people do, some people don't. But I will say this. I think it got into extremes, which when you do things over social media and not
like
talking.
Real people talking.
Yeah, the things get shifted and moved, but that's like the third. I think it's I wasn't surprised to see Mitch jump in because of the last couple of weeks between Mitch and Jacob.
Yeah.
But that was, then Dave got in, and I was like, dang,
It got pretty heated.
I kind of like everybody.
Yeah. But there's some people you definitely agree with more than others in that conversation.
I just, you always have to be careful when you take things to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I pick and choose my battles. I'm a lot less confrontational over the years because I felt like sometimes I was coming across as kind of like a bully. And I would try to explain to people, we would talk and it's, oh man, you didn't have to do such and such like that. And I'm like, hey, listen, I don't really like being like that. And I'm not always going to be right, number one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing for sure. If I'm wrong, I'm not going through it. I'm just going to tell you, hey man, I missed it. I misread.
Yeah.
But if I take it public and it's on social, there's a good chance I'm well prepared.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I'm not going to paint myself into a corner with the words that I use.
Right.
It's just,
you're one of the only people I know that I think is more reasonable on the internet. Like you're more restrained on
because I have time.
Yeah. Well, and you're also, because you don't want to publicly and on the record make a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very, TJ makes fun of this all the time because it can be used for bad too. Sure. Because if I want, I do have the ability to manipulate. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But as a quick processor, you try to use it for good.
Right.
So I have to be very careful. So sometimes, I just won't say anything.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like,
because once you start, it's hard to back
Yep,
off.
and it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like,
and then you're not going to feel good about it later, and
which is probably the main thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not how I'm going to make you feel.
You're not going to like how you feel about it.
It's probably going to be how I feel.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, I get that.
The softy, right? But when I, it's different though. Like if I know you're not for me,
it's easier.
It's a lot. It's a lot easier to go in. So I was not happy with that exchange.
So to reset for people that maybe weren't spending a lot of time on Twitter yesterday, so our friend Jacob Bigelow and our dear friend Michael Severe got into a little bit of a spat yesterday. It started with Bigelow doing a guest spot where he's talking about, it's spring. Why are we talking about football? Shouldn't be talking about football this time of year. It's not relevant. Which first of all, it's like he picked the wrong time of year because there actually is stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if we're having this conversation in June, maybe.
But I will give him credit to he subtly and very
games.
He subtly and deliberately, he didn't move the goalpost, but he rested in something that was almost infallible. I was kind of impressed because he rested in nobody's words right now are going to matter. And I was like, okay, if you land the plane there, fine. But what you have to, sorry, EJ, what you have to understand though, is if you do land the plane there, it's not going to age well. Because you're leaving, you're basically saying my words don't matter now, they won't. Well, when do they if you're not the one that's actually competing?
So that's the question.
So that's what I wanted to tell him.
That's where it gets tricky.
I'm like JB.
Because at what point does it matter?
At JB, you can't.
It's a real slippery slope.
Yeah, don't do that.
You don't want to pull at that string.
And I kind of wanted to. I don't know if
that sweater unravels pretty fast.
I didn't want to jump in and defend, but I was like, those are two guys. Like if they go in,
they're gonna go hard.
They can go hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he can defend himself, but I just felt like he's getting closer and closer to the corner.
Yeah.
And
where there's no ways out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can rest in that absolute.
Yeah.
That the timing doesn't matter and your words don't matter, but they never do.
So that's
they never will.
So it's funny that this is where we landed.
Even if it's in season,
right?
What we write or what we say, it doesn't matter. So
the funny thing is, I struggle. Struggle is probably too strong of a word. I think about that a lot because because I am someone who wants my life, impact, whatever to matter.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's been a struggle for me. And I think I resist it for a while to have a career in sports, because at the end of the day, I've often thought to, especially like not being a coach and not being someone who's directly impacting, people in a locker room and stuff like that, because I wonder a lot of the time, does any of this matter? Right? I wonder a lot of the time, does talking about sports for a living matter? Doesn't, like, what are we doing here? Right? If not just bloviating about whatever. And what I land on is sports do matter.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, but they do. They connect people. They give us a sense of community that in especially today's like culture is often missing. And I know personally, I've brought up my like the Brooke Behringer story a lot and stuff like that, and his impact on my life. Like that doesn't exist without Nebraska football. Like I don't have that turning point in my life at a very young age that was really important to me and still is, without Nebraska football being Nebraska football, right? If that's, and this is no offense meant, but like if that's some guy from the Iowa Barnstormers that comes in and comes to my diabetes camp when I'm 7 years old, probably didn't have the same impact as national champion Brooke Behringer, right? Like it's just a different thing.
Hey, shout out Todd Doxson. He was a former Barnstormer.
Hey,
Mike Horacek, Barnstormer.
We had one of my fifth grade teacher brought her kids and a couple of her friends were on the Barnstormers. They brought us in. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Guess what? It didn't change my life though. Like there's a difference. Like there's like that matters. And then I sit here and we get messages sometimes from people that are like, man, I'm really going through it. You guys are the best part of my day. Or like, man, like work is the worst, but I get through it every day because I listen to you guys. Like,
isn't it funny too? Because that's why I try to hope with enough divine intervention that I get the right partners.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only reason I think people have stuck around this long is for the very reason that I didn't want to do the job. I was not interested at sharing any of me when I first started.
Like your personal self.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And it's like
yep.
The only time I feel like there's real connections is when I do.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's now over time, it just has kind of become the relationship that we have with the listenership.
Mm-hmm.
But I am afforded the grace to kind of be able to work with people that allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm always appreciative of that. And on those occasions when you like to connect, because you're very open about it.
Oh, yeah.
The connection between life and sports and why you like doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing the runway for it to happen. Because sometimes I think in the moment, I mean, you see our chat sometimes, like it gets nuts.
Yeah. It can be a little scary
because
because
it's about, you're
just out there.
I mean, this is where the magic happens, right? I mean,
you're unprotected. You're exposed. You're just out there.
So as we're watching this conversation unfold, I'm like, I wonder if Jacob will be like that in 15 years.
Yeah.
Or 5
Maybe.
or 10. So that's kind of where my heart went.
I wasn't like that when I was his age.
That's kind of where my heart went. But I just. That was interesting. And so many messages. Like apparently a lot of people were on social media yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but you do have a couple Titans.
Yeah, those are big personalities.
Big personalities in the
and people that people listen to, right? Like
right.
It's and I've been on the other side of the equation too, right?
Yeah, I've seen some of yours. And believe me, I wanted to there are times where I'm like, hey man, unplug.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
But I'll get in moods. And I just
yeah.
won't care.
Yeah.
I get it. Like I've been on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I've been on the other side of the microphone too, right? When I talk about, hey, that's the best part of my day. Like that's one of the reasons I started liking you back in like 2012. And so I was like, oh, this guy's a little different. It's part of the reason I liked Chick and Nick back in the day, and I was so happy when their podcast come back. Like it feels. I think I've met Matt Schick like 3 times ever, and we talk to him occasionally when he's available. I feel like I know Matt Schick incredibly well. I felt like I knew you and Nick Baugh and those guys so well before I even met you, right? Like I wasn't. It's really funny. I don't really get starstruck, especially with people you kind of grow up around or whatever. And it wasn't because of basketball. I was a little intimidated the first couple times I met Nick Baugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was like, oh, this is like this guy I love listening
Mm-hmm.
to and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, And I wasn't, by the time we finally like met in person and hung out a lot, I had kind of gotten over that, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna shoot my shots and see what happens.
Listen, the first time I ever worked with Kugler,
Yeah.
you think I wasn't on pins and needles?
Yeah. And most people feel that way when they work with you, right? Because it's like, oh, you got this like Nebraska legend, like national all this stuff, right?
It's a little far-fetched.
But you have this like dynamic where it's the same way for like you, and you're like, oh man, I admire what Kugler does so much. And that guy is probably like, oh man,
I just remember it's like, well, I hope he doesn't think I'm staring.
Yeah.
But I am like processing.
It is hard too.
I'm watching the charts.
Yeah.
I watch his mannerisms. I watch his delivery.
Yeah.
Hands in pockets, not hands in. Hey, what are you wearing to this coach's? What are you wearing?
Yeah.
Or, okay, what's his first question? He's got to go first. He's the lead.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so just weird things like that. I totally get. And he's, I remember one time we had a spring game. It's like, hey, I'm going to talk to the producers, because it made me feel good because I think he wanted me up in the booth and not so much on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And I was quietly bitching to him about not wanting to be on the sidelines and wanting to be in the booth. And he said, hey, let's do this experiment. Let me talk to the producers. Let me talk to Tony and these guys. See if we can keep your mic open. Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer. I just on like this little epiphany on a humbug to throw me. Shoot, he didn't even pitch it. He put it on a tee. Like, even I could hit that thing. Like, he's just kind of like the setup, man, And so I get it, and I'm watching this thing unfold yesterday. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just keep it at he wants March to be for basketball. But then it turned into all these other things.
Turned into this whole other thing,
right? Because I don't mind. Fudge. I'd like to talk about this, and I'm not saying I was writing with Bigelow, because I'm just watching. But I'm like, well, shoot, I'd like to talk about hockey. I'd like to talk about
Major League Baseball, NBA, all sorts of stuff, right?
But then as the conversation kept going, I'm like, well, fudge, man, do people really still care about basketball, right? Like Nebraska basketball, or just basketball in general?
So here's the thing.
Right? Because didn't you ask yourself that question?
100%. That's the first question you have to ask yourself.
I'm like, man, I need to be productive. I had to get off my phone.
Gotta get off the internet. Here's the thing, though, is at any given time, people in Nebraska care more about Nebraska football than they do anything else.
I understand.
That's just it.
No,
you know what I mean?
I don't even think that's debatable.
I don't either.
And I think you can say that without saying, like, there were a couple of like Bikram yoga stretches.
That's got to be Bikram.
Like, well, nobody cares about the 40. I'm like, Dave, that's not
the point.
That's not the point. Like, and he's smarter than that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
but people get emotional. They make bad.
And then I was like, but I just let it ride, right? It's just like, sometimes people just they process differently. But I think there's no question when you just watch what happens when coaches speak today. It will be different than the write-ups or the stories on basketball last night.
That played an actual game yesterday.
Yeah. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just the way that.
So here's kind of the like meta existential argument that people get into about that, though, right?
Existential,
right? Is people will say, is the coverage because the media is being lazy and trying to feed spoon us what they want, or is the coverage because that's what the people want? And there's really no way to tell, right? Except for the fact that I live and work and am around this community and state of Nebraska every day. And I can tell you unequivocally, it's not even just college football or football in general that people in Nebraska care about more. It is Nebraska football. How many times have I told you? I'm like, yeah, I don't think people watch that much other sports besides Nebraska. And I'm not condemning them for it. It's not their job to do that.
I still don't know if I agree with you.
I'm almost positive it's true.
Okay.
That outside, and that's not to say nobody does, and that's not to say
No, don't couch it, because I get it. People will use the extreme.
I'm not doing extremes here.
Yeah, I hate that.
I'm not doing extremes here. I think there is a large section of the Nebraska football fan base that largely does not care about other college football teams. Maybe they care in relation to what it means for Nebraska, but they're not consuming 12 hours of college football on a Saturday. They're probably watching the Nebraska game. Maybe they'll watch one more, and then they're doing some yard work, or they're running some errands, or they're going to their kids' games, or whatever else. And maybe they'd like to, if they had time and, were child-free, what up? Or, had or had, a job.
You riding with this guy, too? you kidless, lifeless, dark souls, you.
Maybe they would if they had the free time and the ability to do so. But I think the fact of the matter is, and I'm almost
Shane, when's the last time you saw a girl?
Probably
Saturday.
Oh.
Shane have a date
In person?
Yeah, your mom was available.
She sent me the greatest. She sent. Yeah, you tripping, all right. And I'm gonna tell. Although I know she's up, she's cool. She sent me the greatest message yesterday.
Yeah.
She needs surgery, and she's making the case that she's too old to be worth it.
Oof.
I'm like, are you nuts? But anyway,
My dad does that all the time.
I'm like, do you know where I would be without you?
Yeah.
Get the surgery.
Let's get this.
But anyway, go ahead, finish the kidless
Yeah. So I think sometimes, and we do this too sometimes.
Okay, talk to me.
But I think this is part of what was kind of happening to Bigelow too, was sometimes we lose a little bit of touch about how much sports normal people consume, because we're all on the extremes, right? Like everybody that does this for a living is almost everybody that does this for a living.
Dude, Kyle is wild, ain't he?
Yeah.
I've been watching him the last couple of weeks. I think I kind of like him.
Yeah.
Whether I agree or not, he definitely has convictions.
For sure. But for the larger population, I think we overassume how much sports they consume. And I don't think it's a desire or a commitment or anything. It's a time thing, right? A lot of people don't have the amount of time that we do to commit to watching these things because it's part of our job. And so that's where we lose the thread a little bit on some of these discussions. Because if you strip away everybody else's time and energy and resources, the thing they will still make time and energy and funds for is Nebraska football. And there's a hierarchy. It's probably Nebraska football, Nebraska volleyball, 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
Nebraska basketball a little bit further down the line, Nebraska baseball a little bit further down the line. But that's about it in terms of the general state. Like if you're in Omaha, Creighton basketball is in there somewhere as well. Creighton women's basketball, Creighton volleyball in there somewhere as well. But for the most part, we stay pretty dialed locally, and I think
you're talking about like my good buddy Brett.
Yeah.
Brett will be out in the field, working. He works long, hard. Like one of the things I admire about him.
Good, honest living.
He's just a hard worker.
Yeah.
And he'll stay connected to Nebraska's football somehow. Mm-hmm. Now, and even last night, he was kind of just checking on me. But even last night, it was about Nebraska. People that stay connected, though, they do stay connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the crossover in this state is something that I think we probably ought to recognize and not diminish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the connection is real. That's why there's the passion, the whole identity. This isn't new. Mm-hmm. This isn't some DB hot take narrative that the identity is kind of wrapped into one.
Hmm.
So I think I don't know. It's okay to embrace it.
Yeah. So it's okay to embrace all of it. It's okay.
Yeah. Nightbird.
Nightbird? I don't know what that is.
America's Got Talent.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I missed that one.
Oh, man. Listen.
I will say, I am a sucker for those videos on TikTok.
Stage 4, and she performed. She came all the way from Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. By herself.
Nightbird? Is that what it's called?
That's what she calls
What's her stage name?
Yeah, she's since lost her battle with cancer, but yeah. Go Google it.
I'll Google it. I'm a sucker for those videos.
Google it.
As like
it's I used to, when Shane was cool and he pushed the envelope before we got our hands slapped with regulations, he would play music for me.
Yeah.
And
now he's just got that one Kendrick.
Now he's scared. He needs a wiener because we have more.
Hey, I'm tripping. I'm slacking.
You definitely get a trip. We have more wiggle room. Like, push the goddamn envelope.
Just wiggle.
Don't be such a baby.
Just wiggle.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
He's something else.
No, that like I know you think I'm like a heartless human being, which is mostly accurate.
Yeah.
But I am a sucker for those like America's Got Talent.
She got the golden ticket.
Or like the golden buzzer.
Yeah.
Or the
this ain't Willy Wonka, my bad. The whole
could be candy store. Who knows?
I'm on this whole chocolate bar thing, so let me just move on.
Like Fitty, welcome to the candy shop.
Exactly. It's closer to Magic Stick, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Move on.
But yeah, I'm a sucker for these like videos of people, whether it's like The Voice or America's Got Talent or whatever, these like people making it and like having their moment and crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that gets me every time.
Yeah. And Shane, look at my man Hot Danger. I told you I was riding with that guy from day one.
He's on fire today.
He gets it though.
No.
You got
No.
Shane, that's all you ever have. You should be used to 15 seconds.
Also,
just use it.
For what it's worth, Shane, there's actually no difference whatsoever between using audio clips from movies and songs.
I'm trying to tell him.
It's the exact same fair use policy. So.
Was it in vogue? Who sang Free Your Mind?
Free Your Mind.
Yeah.
That one?
No, it's Whitney. Is it Whitney?
I don't know.
Yeah, she did it in The Bodyguard. It's Whitney.
Are you impressed I knew that?
You get the black people confused normally, so yeah. You seem to be better with the females than the dudes, though.
I'm okay.
Didn't she perform that in The Bodyguard?
I have no idea.
You took like 20 years off of not watching television, did you?
There's like a late 80s, early 90s period that's a blind spot for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fudge, you suck.
Well, not a big Costner guy.
Oh, I kind of have a closet crush.
I like him in the baseball movies.
I just like him, period.
Yeah, he's okay. I guess I do. I don't know. I like Draft Day for some reason.
He's a cool dude. I don't know him, but
it's a bad movie, but I still like it.
Yeah.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live.
Give me that cheddar, weekend Rico. Big bunny rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Well, I've seen some fans taking pictures with you. How much support have you felt from back home with everything you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, a lot. I'm pretty blessed to be around such great fan bases. Nebraska, playing here, growing up here. I mean, I bleed red, so I love coming back here and being in Nebraska, coming to different sporting events. This is the first time at a Supernovas game, so it's neat seeing everybody, all the people here. It's a pretty packed house. But it's cool. Going out to Philly, the fans are different. They're just different, but it's just the passion from place to place. There's nothing like it. It's pretty cool.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
The Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good, okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you singing double while we're counting to three.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
What's the excitement to be back and having another opportunity here in Omaha?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything for sure. Just being here, being with the guys again is super exciting, and we're all just kind of ready to get started. These last few days have kind of just been the waiting game, playing the waiting game. We're ready. We're done with spring training. We're just kind of ready to get going. So it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, what did you focus most on during spring training?
Yeah, we added a little slider to lefties to help me get some left-handed hitters out. And really just staying healthy. Major League camp was really good just to be with those guys and just kind of create those relationships with them. And, getting to know even like the Major League staff was really cool. Just kind of getting hitters out, being efficient, keeping pitch count down, all types of stuff.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you keep those eyes focused and straight ahead as you're on the road. You've got one job as a driver, that is to drive. Don't get distracted. This message brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We're going to call our friend Alex Sindelar here in a little bit and talk to him because we got Creighton, Nebraska coming up today.
Oh, boy. 2:30. Are they going to get it in?
I think so.
I just ran out to the vehicle.
It's looking a little daunting out.
It reminds me of a line from one Prince,
Purple
the artist
Rain?
formerly known as. He went through this stretch where he was like just the glyph.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it ain't the same. Go back to Prince. He would say like, overcast days never turn me on. She wore a rash. It's very overcast.
Raspberry beret.
Not so much that as
It's
much
the
as the
overcast.
overcast. Did you miss the overcast part?
Yeah, I just want to keep singing.
It's very overcast.
It is. It doesn't look great.
At 2:30, can we get it in?
My app, which is often
just ask your mom.
Quite wrong.
I was right the first time. I should have went with my gut. It's in vogue.
Yeah, that's what Daniel said, and he would know.
I'm almost afraid to bring him anything music around that Yahoo.
My mom says after 8.
Oh, we're
so we should be cool.
Wait, AM?
No. After 8 tonight.
How is it going to hold off today? Like, she thinks this is going to hold off?
To this day?
It looks like it's 6 p.m. at night.
I don't know. That's what she texted. She texted earlier.
Hey, don't be the guy that throws the ED on things. She texted. You don't need anything after that.
She texted.
Shane will say, "Did
texted it?
Man,
today, Junior.
What up, Cam?
What is up, Cam?
That's my dude.
No, we got Nebraska Creighton this afternoon. Hopefully they get that in. That should be fun.
Yeah, and then the Chasers open tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Martie here in a little bit.
The Prez.
Our guy Martie Cordaro.
Yeah, good dude. He's got to be excited.
It's
exciting.
I'm guessing he was hoping for a little nicer weather.
Yeah.
But that's all right. We'll get there.
How Danger is rolling. I didn't even get a chance to get into it, but I just love the fact that he knows.
What did he get into?
He nailed it. I'm not even going to read it because only me and him kind of know, but he's 100% right. I'm riding with that dude.
All right.
I told you.
All right.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to know about Kaufman. I want to, they moved him to the midweeks for the Jays. I need A-Trains. I need his perspective.
Yeah.
Did you say he's going out to the river?
Dismal River. Apparently it's a town, I think, in Nebraska.
So he's not rafting.
No, he's working.
Okay. What is he selling? This dude constantly bags elephants.
Yeah, so
does he sell anything small, or does he just killing just one couple big count? Yeah,
Whales.
He's a whaler.
Yeah, whale hunting.
Yeah.
So he sells
big old Moby Richard, huh?
Yeah.
Not bad.
You can say in that context, you can say Moby Dick.
Yeah, I was a big Moby Dick guy.
Yeah.
I thought
they call me Ishmael.
Did you watch the version with Thor? Who's the Thor guy again? He has the little brother.
Chris Hemsworth?
Yes. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't. I didn't know they made one with him.
Yeah, it's very long and drawn out.
Yeah, not good.
Oh, he's wasting away. I mean, good on him. Reminds me of your boy Christian Bale for that role where he looked cracked out.
You're gonna have to narrow it down. He did that a few times. He
Was
did it
it
for the fighter? He did it for the machinist.
Yeah, the machinist.
Okay, because he does.
I almost said La Maquina.
Did you watch the Spanish version?
Hey man, cut your boy some slack.
No, he also got pretty sickly for the fighter too, when he was Mark Wahlberg's brother.
Yeah, I'm out on Wahlberg. Let's not talk about him.
You're not a Wahlberg guy?
Let's go to somebody else I like. Let's see what's on Asian Wyatt's mind.
Wyatt, what's going on, buddy? How we doing this morning?
Not bad. How you guys doing?
Good. You bringing any eggs in, Wyatt? It's almost Easter, man. There's it's tough out here, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't get chickens to get cheaper eggs because that's not going to work out.
The return on investment isn't quite worth it.
No, not even emotionally.
Have you become emotionally attached to the chickens, Wyatt?
My wife has. That's why she doesn't eat chicken.
Well, that's tough. I get it. She looks quite a bit different than me from different cultural backgrounds. I'm not giving up chicken.
I'm stunned to find this out.
I'm not giving up chicken. Just saying. Anywho,
hey,
what's up, champ?
Hey, we all married the same way, so you guys get it. So, anyway,
shots fired. Wow, that's tough.
And real quick, Ravi,
what's up?
Just like you too, I also have a cat that owns our big dog in our house. So we have an English Mastiff, and that cat will corner him, and he's like, looks at me like, dude, help me. I'm like, come on, man, you're 120 pounds.
Can you send me a picture of your English Mastiff? I love Mastiffs.
I'll send it to Damon.
Okay.
Once I get to a place where I can do that, and then you can see.
I appreciate it.
We got 2 months.
Oh, you're such a rule follower. You're not gonna text and drive because you have to sort through to find the pictures.
Well, I don't want to make Omaha scanner later, so that's probably a good idea.
It's because he heard my NDOT read. He's like, you know what, Robbie's right. I'm not gonna be distracted.
By the way, the T-Rex, is it a GIF?
Yeah,
it's fantastic. This is what he sent me yesterday. By the way, you heard that in its entirety. I wasn't going there, Ravi made it seem like a safe place and then turned around and laughed at me. There's a lot going on in my head at that time, Wyatt, and then I just let it rip.
Yeah, I mean that's why they're not good at arguments, because they're not good at debating. So.
Wow. Yo, you're on a roll. You're on a roll this morning. What's up, man? What's on your mind?
We need some positive. No, I just want, Dave, say my heart goes out to you. I know it's been rough, but I say too, like in 2019, that was the worst year of my, because we had the flood. Our house was part of those floods, and our house was severely damaged. And while we were living somewhere else, we had 3 dogs, and 3 of them, passed away of different reasons. And that was a real rough year. And I was listening, to you, Damon, and I know Ravi peeked in every now and then. I was at the other place, that got rid of the DEI. BFR was cool, but I'm glad that you guys were around, and it helped me just put my head in a different space at that time. And I really appreciate that. And I hope the show is doing the same for you. Hopefully it's a 2-way street.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, Asia, my dude. Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate you, Wyatt.
That's my guy, man. He's such a good dude.
Don't forget to send me a picture of the dog, though. Also,
He's low key. Well, not even low key, because you get to hear him.
Yeah,
he's really funny.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I like Wyatt a lot.
And he'll come back and get it too. So it may be 24 hours or something, like when he gets back to it. And then I remember, like,
he's got the long memory.
I'm like, shoot, man, did we say that
on air?
Yeah. I don't know what yesterday was.
Hey, same as today. We'll see what happens. Coming up, we're going to talk to Alex Sindelar, which means things aren't going to get any better.
Yeah, good. Hang on.
They're certainly not going to get any more on the rails.
Yeah.
That's TV. I'm Ravi, Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
What's up, guys? Kenny Bell here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. It is round 2 of Menu Madness, and I am personally voting for the Hail Varsity Burger. You can vote how you please, but be sure to come visit us this weekend. Enjoy some great food, some great basketball, and be sure to cast your vote for round 2 of Menu Madness.
Give me that cheddar, weekend Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Well, it's a new era of Nebraska volleyball with Danny Busboom Kelly. What have been your first impressions of her and the culture she wants to set and continue to grow here?
She's been great. We've only had a couple days of practice, but they've been super loose, super fun. She's obviously a really great coach, and she's just really uplifting and positive, and we're trying some new things, so we're really excited to show that.
Well, Coach Cook was in attendance. He's currently getting mobbed by fans over here. His, recognition on the court, standing ovation so loud. How special is it to take that in with Coach and just see how much he means to the state?
Yeah, it's awesome. He deserves it. He gave his entire life to it for 20-something years, and I'm happy for him that he's happy and he gets to be with the grandkids now.
It's okay, Harper, jump in here.
Hi, everyone. But yeah, it's so awesome just to see all the love and appreciation for him, and we feel it too, and it's just awesome that the rest of the state gets to show it.
Thank you so much, Bergen.
Yeah, thank you.
Aspirations can drive us, Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Well, Coach, when you think about this journey, so many former players on the court as well, how special is it to see pro volleyball here and see how it's received?
To be honest, I'm blown away. And this is my first Supernova match. I've watched a couple on TV, and man, the crowd's great. They put on a great show. Level of play is really good, and I don't know, and the size of the crowd is pretty amazing. So this is great. Nebraska is the epicenter of volleyball in this country, and this is another example of it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Harper, you know all about this playing at Nebraska. How does it transcend, though, to this pro level, too? Why are you looking at me?
I mean, I think it's great. You can feel the love from former Nebraska players. So I think it just goes to show the fan base and how much love they have for the sport, but also former players like Katie and Kayla, who didn't even end their careers at Nebraska, but you know, they show them love and they're here for them. So I just think it shows a lot of love and support from the fan base.
What's it like seeing Allie and Lindsay out here on the court?
I love it. I haven't seen them in forever, so it's really nice to see them. And we made a TikTok with Allie.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and joined now by the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Sindelar. What's going on, buddy?
No pressure. Jeez.
Look, I have no idea when this call is going to drop, but it's going to drop.
So where are you?
I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere, man. I have no idea. I mean, I'm on Highway 97. I'm going to Dismal River. And so, like, I am thick in the Sandhills right now. Like, I went from Valentine and I'm going straight south.
Isn't that the river where everybody, like, gets on those big rafts and just, like, drinks beers?
No, that's the Niobrara.
Oh, damn. My bad.
Almost had it.
Well, there's another one, too. What's the one up by Burwell?
I have no idea.
It starts with a C.
I mean, there's the Elkhorn River, there's Niobrara River, there's, Dismal's like, it's barely even a river. It's more of a creek than anything else.
Man, what am I thinking of then?
I'm trying to find it.
I feel like I'm dismal or abysmal. Not like, did I just totally swing and miss? That sucks. Oh, it's the Calamus. That's the one.
Yeah, Calamus.
Yeah. Somebody tried to get me to go up there once, and I'm like, look, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I'm black. I ain't going.
Man, but there's waterfalls. It's cool.
So
like,
that's
it's natural beauty.
What about DB?
Yeah, right. I could go to Greece or somewhere if I wanted waterfalls. Like
only waterfalls he's trying to catch are TLC, my guy.
Yeah, and they didn't age well, so you'd have to get me back with like old chili, like not new chili, old chili. Anyway, old chili. Yeah, she did that. An RIP to Left Eye, but just did not age that well.
You don't want to mess around with Left Eye. She'll burn your house down.
Well, if she could.
Well, not anymore. RIP.
See, this is what happens, Alex. I don't know what this show is, but I am appreciative that guys like yourself are flexible, that we could just have on speed dial. Walk me through what I'm getting from Kaufman as a midday guy now.
I mean, what do you mean?
Like, hey, I mean, he can shove a little bit. Like, how's the
again? I have zero frame of reference of anything that's going on right now.
Oh my gosh. We were going to
talk. Are you talking about Kuzman?
Kuzman. I said Kaufman. That's I had the Royals on the brain. Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm talking about Kuz.
I thought you were going down to a Royals game, and I'm like, man,
I am, like, but not until June. I'm gonna go see them get their heads beat in by the Dodgers.
There you go.
Hopefully. What are we getting from Kuz?
I mean, Kuzman's been. I mean, he's been electric. And I mean, he's been.
Damn it.
I mean, I don't know his stuff. I'd have to pull up the email that I got, but I mean, he throws strikes, and if you're gonna be a pitcher and anywhere, you got to throw them. Dude throws strikes. He fills up the strike zone. He does what he does. He gets swings and misses. But what a great addition he's been to the team. I mean, over that hump. I'm surprised I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you just see him on weekends. He's electric, man.
Okay, so how do I parse through the 6 consecutive weekend series wins versus kind of where I think they are from a level of competition standpoint? At this point, should I just say it's a good baseball team?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. And I mean, it all revolves around Nolan Sailors, right? I mean,
he's my fave.
Dude. I mean, I think he's still batting like near Ted Williams numbers. I mean, the dude's been electric all year, and you need an impact bat, especially at the top of the order, in order to make this, and in order to make any baseball team run, right? But I mean, even with Teddy Dieter's having a down year so far, and Ben North finally starting to come around.
Van Tiger got his first one the other day too. Can I take anything from that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, they're really deep, and you can throw anybody out there in the infield because apparently everybody gets hurt. Kyle Hess has been hurt. I mean, the entire infield is it's plug and play at this point. But they can put anybody out there, and it works. They're really together. I think Mark Kingston as well. I think just having the two, both guys, and they're kind of oil and water kind of in terms of their managerial philosophy. I mean, Ed is very stern. He's like, this is my lineup. This is what we're doing. Go out there, throw strikes, get wins, whatever. Laid back. He's a little bit more personable. He talks to the players. He gets to know them. Like, he gives them, like, rah-rah speeches and all that kind of shit that Ed never did and still doesn't do. And so to have that, like, be second in command, really, I mean, they're supposed to be equal, but it's really second in command just this 1 year.
Oh, we lose him?
I hope not. I'm all in on A-Train right now.
Alex, come back to me.
This talent that's just kind of flooding in. And again, like I said, it's plug and play. They can put anybody out there and they're going to perform. And you saw Teddy Dieter this last weekend finally start to come around. He came around in the first game. Okay. Third game, nobody did. So whatever, we can forget about that. But I mean, this is just a good baseball team. I think it's decent. I think they're fun. They hit home runs. They hit gap doubles. It's not just, get a walk, get a bunt, and, eventually they'll score. It's actually a dynamic offense that's working well with this system. And then the pitching's come along.
Alex, you still there, bud? We might have lost him this time. Well, I was going to ask him, Shane, let's try and get him back here. What I was going to ask him is, I do find that dynamic between Service and Kingston really interesting, right? Because last year we saw this was a capable team, but it was only capable in midweeks, right? They were really, really good in midweek games, no matter who they were playing, and then really, really struggled on the weekends, almost again, regardless of who they were playing. I'm curious because you sort of brought up, sort of a swan song last hurrah for service type deal.
Yeah, it's amazing how maybe this is just going to be the team that rallies this year.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of it. Alex, we got you back here, bud?
Yeah, I think so.
At least momentarily. So I'm wondering, you mentioned the dynamic between Service and Kingston, and I'm curious, how much do you think is sort of a rally as like one last hurrah for Ed versus, hey, this new voice in the room totally changes the dynamic of the team in Kingston?
I mean, in all honesty, I think it's the new voice in the room. Look, I think.
Oh no! Don't leave me hanging. We're gonna need you back on this one.
I feel like it was about to
do
say
the
something.
thing where you say, "Come back
Hey,
to me, Alex."
come back to me.
Damn it! It didn't work.
That was 1 for 2.
You want to try it one more time?
Alex,
Come back to me.
come back to me, buddy.
Do the thing with your nose.
Come back.
Or is it rubbing the? Never mind.
What are we doing? Was that? I felt like an Indian joke was coming.
Hang on. Wait. I'm gonna whisper this.
Okay.
Aren't you the ones that come out of the bottle?
Like the genies? Yeah. I mean, not like us specifically. That's more like Middle Eastern. So we're just I mean,
man,
you're on the right continent.
First Whitney.
So it's not like you had like the wrong Indians, just like the wrong shade of brown people.
My bad.
It's all good.
So who's Aladdin?
He's like he's like Middle Eastern. I don't have like a country of origin. I don't think Agrabah is a real place.
Even I didn't know that. That's horrible.
That's a pretty good pull off top of my head, right?
That was pretty amazing. From Whitney to In Vogue to Dismal, Abysmal to Calamus to Agrabah, and I think we got him.
All right, Alex. You were saying it's the new voice in the room, Mark Kingston, and then you said I think, and you left us hanging. What do we think? Oh no.
I'm distraught.
This might
this not gonna work.
This might be it.
It's just,
all right, Shane, let's call it.
All right. We tried.
We did try. We got to talk to him for a minute.
We tried.
Appreciate Alex. We'll catch up with him here soon. Nebraska and Creighton play again on the 15th. That's a big FS1 game.
Yeah.
A couple weeks from today. So I'm sure we will catch up with him a few more times over the course of spring. Plus, he's just fun to talk to.
You got that right.
I mean, he's a great summer guest because he'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
There's no limits with our guy, Alex Sindelar.
Well, he's wild. How about
he's one of my favorites. Like he's one of my favorite people.
4 seconds in, just dropping expletives. But you told me a couple years ago, the dude, he's a sailor, right?
Oh yeah, like he is. You think he's funny though? Like when
no, don't bus roll him. But some people cuss just to be cussing.
Yeah.
That's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, like Solder does it just because whatever, right?
Why did I know you were gonna use him?
Because I thought he was being a baby last week. That's why.
Dang, do you think he'll talk to us this week?
I don't know. We'll see how he feels about it.
We better get somebody in the bullpen.
I mean, it's like we've ever had a hard time filling the hours.
Damn.
I'm just saying.
Ravi here. So you're gonna. We probably should hash this out off here. I didn't let that bother me.
Oh, I just it doesn't really bother me. It's just a matter of okay, I'm not gonna if last week, if he had been on the air, I'd have been like, well, Solder just cusses to cuss. I'm not going to couch it just because he bailed last week.
So did we? I didn't know Severe was coming on.
I didn't either.
Shane, who set that up? You?
I didn't set it up. I mean, I facilitated it.
He put out the bat signal and said, these yahoos are talking about the draft. Or Nebraska players. I want to talk.
Yeah, he just came on. I mean,
my man had notes.
Yeah,
he was chomping at the bit to tell somebody. Did you see what? Have you ever watched him take notes?
Yeah.
My man writes like hieroglyphics. He's the only one that can read what he writes. I don't know if he was smart in school. There's no cheating off that dude.
He
you can't read anything.
He doesn't sit too far from me in the press box for football.
I know. I usually come say hi to both you guys at the same time.
So I see the scribblings, the chicken scratch, if you will. He'd have been made a great doctor because you can't read a thing that man writes. But no, he sits not too far from me, and so you see him taking notes and stuff, and he stays on it.
Yeah.
But no, when Alex cusses, it's used to great comedic effect, which I really appreciate about him.
Yeah.
Like every swear word that he utters is the funniest possible place to insert a swear word.
I have no bleeping idea.
And it's like so unexpected.
So
right?
you know what terrifies me, and this happened to me, This is probably when I was coming back from Fairfield.
Mm-hmm.
I got rerouted or routed, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
And luckily, I have my phone, so I could just do my thing. And I was like, oh, I can cut over by Crete, whatever.
Yep.
What happens if like you're on your Navi and you can't get service?
Yeah, so
because that has to be a thing.
It is. I think typically it will, because there's sort of like that emergency backup, like satellite system.
Yeah.
I think it will.
Why don't you call your uncle?
I could ask him. He'd probably know.
Didn't he invent OnStar?
Didn't invent OnStar. He pioneered modern remote sensing.
Oh God, that's too many syllables.
The technology that allows GPS to work.
Travis is foolish.
He did. I mean, there is a whole song called Arabian
He is
Nights.
foolish.
Not Indian Nights.
But Travis said that he does think March is for basketball. Can it be for baseball too?
Listen, it can be for whatever you want it to be.
Well, I thought we were establishing rules.
No, I'm not trying to gatekeep. You know how much I don't like gatekeepers.
Yeah. You don't like anything though, so it's hard to.
That's not true. I like a lot of stuff.
I
like sports.
Okay. See, this is why sometimes I want to sock Daniel.
Yeah.
My man, Shane, pull him up so I can read that. Navigation is satellite. Usually works even if you don't have a cell signal. No bleep. But if dude is using his phone and he loses a signal, what is he supposed to do? What if he doesn't have on the dash cam Navi, Daniel? You're like, I'm talking to him like he's here.
But no, I do.
He's like being at home. Maybe he and I should have got married.
So have you?
Nah.
Wow.
Oh, let's
you
not.
guys would fight all the time.
Well, what else? And that would be different how?
It wouldn't be different at all.
You know what they call that? Posturing. He said, wow, like you can't relate. Knock it off.
Puffing up. Wow.
You know, the fake outrage.
It's like a peacock over there.
It's the deflector.
I think we had a lot of.
It's like the bodyguard. It's all big and swole, but it really is pretty insecure.
Yeah. It's like
you're not fooling. You ain't fooling me, Shane.
You know, I don't even recognize what we're doing. No, it's I think there's like a satellite backup system on your phone.
You know what?
Yeah, but you ever been driving and it says GPS system is lost?
Yeah. No,
is that pretty good?
Yeah.
I went into character.
I think I have some better audio for it.
What's that? We're out here. This is the field where the magic happens.
You finally cut that up?
Yep.
We're out here, right?
So we've been asking for that for like 3
We're out
weeks.
here, right?
No, hold on.
We're out in the boondocks.
No, hold on.
What?
We've been asking for this for like weeks at this point, and you were able to do it mid-show. So it was not.
We're out here. This is the.
So it was not a complicated task. Am I understanding that correctly?
Hey, I'm tripping. I'm slacking.
I wanted the dry audio. I was looking for it. Couldn't find it.
How'd I blow the river?
So is this the wet audio? What is that? You said dry audio? What's the difference?
I don't even know what that
Dry
is.
audio has no music.
We're out here. This is the field where the All magic right, I'm happens. gonna need you to knock it off. That's what's gonna happen right now, Shane.
You know what?
You know where we're going, Tracy?
So apparently I'm the only one that doesn't know what I'm doing. Because my man BC, he's like, you could download your route as well. At least on Apple, you can.
Yeah. So I do think it's sort of auto down. I don't know. I'm sort of making this up, but I think it like auto downloads your route a little bit.
I take back all the kind things I said about Thomas the other day. He's out. My kids ain't picking up the phone. They got that from their dad. You don't have to worry about me calling them.
I was gonna say,
Big buttons on the remote, all that.
Micah is not helping you turn on a TV.
Yeah, listen, I almost had to punch that dude in his throat the other day.
What do you do now?
Just ban him.
Do you do the peace sign, go across the goal line again?
It's his delivery, man.
Not DiGiorno?
God, it's like, you serious right now?
Yeah.
My man will come out and you know what he says? What's up, father? What? Wait.
I love that kid.
That's just asking for it right there.
What's up, father? Who you talking to, man? What's wrong with you?
He's come out here. Hello, my paternal figure.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get into him, but are you excited? Not excited.
I'm excited.
Are you ready for Coach Butler?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he says.
So the only reason I asked that is not because I want to get off baseball, because I'm gonna intertwine it.
Mm-hmm.
So from a communication standpoint, like when you hear people talk, right, and they take the podium and it's the off season, how does that weigh with you? This isn't on the heels of yesterday, really, but it did get me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
When people communicate with you off season,
yeah,
and you don't have anything to go by yet,
yeah,
but you have to formulate an opinion from the words that you hear,
mm-hmm.
is that easier or harder? Like than, let's say, Coach Bolt or Coach Hoiberg or Coach Mack talking to you in season, and you don't really see what they're saying either.
So I think generally,
you know what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
I think generally coaches are more honest in the off season.
So that's what I think.
Yeah.
So, but we're very, very leery of the offseason, yet we crucified Coach Hoiberg for not saying any magic elixirs other than what we could really see.
Yeah, well, we already knew.
In season.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand playing the dynamics both ways.
I understand when coaches don't say anything in season. They're trying to keep everything pretty close to the vest. They're trying not to let out any information.
Unless it's Patino.
Yeah, which that dude just doesn't care, which is maybe the one.
I'm not even getting you.
Which is maybe the one thing I admire about him.
I wiped that off. I did not say that. not lighting the flame.
Maybe the one thing I appreciate about him is that he gives 0 Fs, absolutely. Yeah. But I do think coaches are more honest in the offseason because they don't have like the reckoning of a game, right? Like Coach Rule can say how he honestly feels in the offseason and not have to worry about, at least as linearly, have to worry about somebody coming back at the press conference after you lose a game to Illinois and be like, well, what happened? Or you lose a game at Indiana when you thought you were playing really good and had no idea that was going to happen, and have people go, well, you really didn't see this coming? It's like, would you have preferred that he did think his team was going to get their ass whooped?
I remember. Who was that? That was Indiana.
Yeah. And so, like, I think they're more honest.
Yeah, he got crucified for that.
Yeah, but there's no right answer there, right? Because he told you the truth. He's like, hey, I thought we were going to play well. I didn't see this coming. Oh, my God, what a great dog.
That is an amazing dog.
I love Mastiffs. Mastiffs are one of my faves.
Yeah.
Can
I pet that dog?
Thank you, Asian Wyatt.
His kids are way better looking than he is. God bless his wife.
But the idea of
did you read Kyle?
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, 10-3, bud. Or excuse me, 3-10 from your perspective.
He said
anyway.
Daddy Hurley is always honest. That's why he's Creighton's daddy. Now, why would Kyle say that though?
Hey, it's not true.
Because he owns the Kyle. You gotta stay right here. It's like
he might own everybody else.
No, it's like Hitch.
Yeah.
And
it's right here.
A moment. Yeah, stay right here, Kyle, because I wanna ride with you.
You don't even make pizza. They got food there.
So you can't be giving my man Ravi any ammunition to lose his mind. All right, look, Kyle, stay right here.
Also,
we should dominate their.
Stay right here.
Hurley's not honest. Anyway, that dude lies.
I mean, I think the press is.
Let's knock it off.
Disingenuous.
You don't know.
I mean, I think the press has been an asshole to me the whole year.
3-10. Anyway, he might dominate everybody else, but not Creighton. That's fine. Anyway,
2 rings.
I think it's a lot easier to be.
Now he's trying to goat you.
I think it's a lot easier to be honest in the off season because you don't have.
But we hate the off season though.
Well,
hell yeah, I want to do it now.
Some people do. Some people hate the off season. I only dislike the off season because I like games, right? So that not having any games bums me out. But I like the off season. The off season is, as a guy that did strength and conditioning for a long time, the off season I really enjoy.
We've just gotten so cynical. I keep thinking of the little dude on Big Daddy talking about sticks.
Yeah.
Right? A bunch of cynical a-holes.
Yeah.
Like we've got, so it's almost like.
I agree. I do think we're incredibly cynical.
I mean, I think the press has been an asshole to me the whole year.
Your drop Tourette's good over there, Shane? You good?
Well, hell yeah, I want to do it now.
You good? You going to be all right?
Uh-oh.
What?
Uh-oh.
Look, I'm going to do things my way.
You know how you can feel tension?
Yeah.
It's not even going over me. It's like going through
you.
me.
We all know it's a Perkins menu.
Shane, if you want to be on the show, get on camera.
Wow.
If you want to be part of the show,
It's a joke.
Get on camera.
That's your boy. So I just was curious.
No, I do think there is a level of cynicism.
You know what I think it is?
What's that?
I think there's no winning unless you are winning. So you just have to do your job.
Mhm.
That's where I would land the plane.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to. Hey, they love the offseason. You know this. And sometimes the empty can rattles the loudest. And I don't think the majority of people are like that. I don't. I think most people want to be informed, want to hear what's going on with teams, whether you're in season or out of season. I just think it's really, really Kobe's having a field day with you. I think it's really disingenuous though to have that stance and then vilify coaches in season for what they say at the same time. You know
Because
what
we
I
don't
mean?
like the alternative either, which is they don't tell us anything.
So
and then we get mad.
You
can't have it both ways.
Let's just keep it pushing for
Yeah.
the sake of consistency.
Take the information in.
Do with it what you will.
And at that point, it becomes on you,
Hmm.
right? Like, there's also, because the thing is true today does not mean it's true tomorrow.
Oh, you got that from me. Is that
Right?
an April Fool's joke?
No, like it's true because what did I say about Creighton back in like December?
That they suck.
That they sucked. Was that true in February?
No.
No, it was not. But it was true in December. They kind of sucked, right? When Coach Rule tells you he's got a good roster and he thinks there's a good football team, there's a point where that is true when he's telling you. That doesn't mean they're going to be a good football team forever moving forward.
You want to lose your mind with an April 1st hot take?
What's that?
I do think they're going to be pretty good.
Hey, listen, 2026.
And I don't even get like that.
2026 college football playoff.
Nah. Let's Simba Donna.
Donna Summer?
Her too.
We're going to talk to Martie Cordaro coming up next.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Well, I've seen some fans taking pictures with you. How much support have you felt from back home with everything you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, a lot. I'm pretty blessed to be around such great fan bases. Nebraska, playing here, growing up here. I mean, I bleed red, so I love coming back here and being in Nebraska, you know, coming to different sporting events. This is the first time at a Supernovas game, so it's neat seeing everybody, all the people here. It's a pretty packed house. But it's cool. Going out to Philly, the fans are different. They're just different, but it's just the passion from place to place. There's nothing like it. It's pretty cool.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good. Okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you saying double while we're counting to three.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
What's the excitement to be back and having another opportunity here in Omaha?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything for sure. Just being here, being with the guys again is super exciting, and we're all just kind of ready to get started. These last few days have kind of just been the waiting game, playing the waiting game. We're ready. We're done with spring training. We're just kind of ready to get going. So it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, what did you focus most on during spring training?
Yeah, we added a little slider to lefties to help me get some left-handed hitters out. And really just staying healthy. Major league camp was really good just to be with those guys and just kind of create those relationships with them. And, getting to know even like the major league staff was really cool. Just kind of getting hitters out, being efficient, keeping pitch count down, all types of stuff.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where, of course, it's Tuesday, so kids eat free with the purchase of a large adult entree. And we're joined now by our guy, Martie Cordaro, president of the Omaha Storm Chasers. Martie, what's going on, buddy?
Ravi, good morning. How's everyone doing?
Good. Are you only calling Ravi by name because he spoke first, or is there something you want to get off your chest?
Oh, DB's there too. Oh, okay.
Hey, I was gonna ask it the other way, but since I'm gonna match your energy for if kids eat free and you and I went to come eat together, man, who would be the one eating free? Me or you?
Both of us. I think both of us actually. I don't think either of us can run from that moniker on most days, so.
Hey, it just seems like you caught your breath with soccer. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, we are. I was asked yesterday, what's new? I think energy is my word of this year. That's what's new in the ballpark. The transition from Alliance Baseball to Diamond Baseball Holdings happened fairly late as it relates to planning for an upcoming season. We start planning for the season August 1st-ish, and, the sale didn't happen September, officially closed in October. So, a lot of what you're going to see new relative to DBH or any material things in the ballpark are going to happen in 26. So this year is more about new energy, new outlook, new sales techniques, approaches, re-engaging with certain fans, past fans, and new and different promotions. So, energy would be my outlook for 2025.
Okay, you've done this. You're super experienced, and good or bad, the seasons change in AAA just because the rosters are so fluid. But you're ultra competitive. How do you not, or do you resist the urge to try to go back and get what the magic from a year ago, right? You know what it's like. You've been there before. Can you really say, new year, new vibe, or are you deep down like, man, let's go try to make another run at this thing?
Well, absolutely, we want to win again. I mean, look, there's no competitor that would answer that question any other way if they're truly a competitor. And while we don't have direct impact on what happens, on the diamond, I was visiting with Mitch Meyer last night with the Royals, and it was great to see the Royals win the way they did yesterday. But more importantly, Chris Bubich, through 6 shutout innings.
Yeah, the Brewers are bad, MC. That's a bad baseball team.
Well, they are, and I'm not specifically talking about the opponent, but what I am talking about is the depth in the Royal system now. For Bubich to step into Singer's spot means there's depth throughout the system. So whether it's AAA, AA on down, the Royals expect all of their clubs to be competitive. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to win back-to-back international league championships, although that'd be quite nice. But 20 of our roster played on our club at some point last year to start this year.
Yep.
It's a lot of experience that Jersh brings back, and a lot of players that are still hungry for their first cup of coffee, their first chance in the big league. So look, I'm optimistic on the diamond as well as what we talked about, off the diamond with the front office staff.
I'm loving this digital platform, primarily because of the informational highway that happens during breaks now. I feel like I learned something new about what we're doing. And we just heard Anna talking with Noah Cameron before we brought you on, and he talked about replicating and the new experiences and what he's learned from last year to this year, coming off the 3-2 record. Jersh is so experienced and he's so savvy, MC. How much can or do you reference last year with said 20 bodies that you just mentioned?
Yeah, look, I think Jersh turns the page much like
just his personality, right?
It is because it's the what have you done for me lately? Even yesterday doesn't matter. Now it's about today, and I think any successful baseball player or team has to have that approach, whether it's 162 in the bigs or it's 150 at AAA. You have to be able to turn that page. It's a lot different when you're talking about a 12 or 13 game, 16 game, 17 game football schedule. Each of those games maybe means a little more than 150, but at the end of the year, there could be one of the 150 that did you in. So you really have to focus on today and not yesterday.
Marty, I know DB's all dialed in on the baseball part. I'm really just there for the fun and the vibes. So I know you guys do an incredible job with the promotions and fun things to get people out to the park. Do you have like a low key one that you're super I know you're a big Star Wars guy, so you always like Star Wars night and those ones, but is there one kind of like below the radar you're sort of looking forward to?
Yeah, yes. There are 3 specific promotions. When we got to the end of last year and we got our fan surveys back again, way before the transition of the sale, when we started digging into our game times and promotions, there's 3 specific ones. One, we're speaking to a younger audience. We had kind of gotten away from that for 5 or 6 years. So we're bringing out Bluey and Bingo. Okay. I don't know anything about Bluey, but I'm learning. And for those parents that may be listening, we have VIP opportunities. They're already almost sold out, and it's June 6th. So those tickets are going well. And then, go ahead.
Can I just say something, MC? As God is my witness, and you can call our house anytime. The show that Zoe watches every morning when she gets out of the tub is this goddamn Bluey. The first thing that the first thing that I said to her is, and she has no real recollection, but I'm going back to like Caleb and Micah with Peppa the Pig. I'm like, do any of these cartoon dogs and pigs not have accents? Like, what are we doing? And she looks at me. She's terrified. She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you pass the remote control?
That's hilarious.
Oh, Marty, this thing, it's in our house every day, every morning. I'm looking at Bluey in this crazy family.
Sounds like you need to go
Sounds
out.
like where I know you'll be.
Listen,
you'll be at the ballpark.
I can't believe I got to send the screenshot. Anyway, I'm sorry. What's number 2? What's number 2?
What are the other 2?
You mentioned Star Wars. That's 2 low-hanging fruit. So I'm going to go Harry Potter. It's been a while since we've done that.
Ooh, okay.
And it's kind of made a resurgence. And there's an opportunity to get a different scarf from each of the 4 different houses. And there's a whole production related to that. So fans can check that out on our website, promotional calendar. And then NASCAR night. We got a partnership with Kansas Speedway for the first time in about 10 years. and that's going to be later in the year, obviously promoting their race in the fall. So, those are 3 promotions outside of fireworks and outside of we're doing an Alex Gordon bobblehead. Just happened to be the year that he gets elected to the Royals Hall of Fame. Bobby Witt Jr. bobblehead. So there's a lot. There's a lot of fun in addition to bring your dog to the park night every Wednesday night game. And of course, on May 1st, we're doing Take Me Out one more time.
All right, you think you're slick. I know you. This Harry Potter deal with the scarves. At what point did you think, oh, this is what they do in soccer? Everybody's got a scarf. Was there any intentional overlap there with the whole scarf thing?
You'd have to ask Alex and Alvin and Katie, our promotions team. I'm going to defer to them. No, seriously, I guess there could have been, but I think it's more about pop culture wise. Where have we lacked the last 3 or 4 years?
I already mentioned like Noah Cameron and obviously with Cordaro, you got, I don't know, Blake Mitchell, obviously Caglione's the big one. How many of these guys are you secretly like, man, just a couple of, let's skip the whole the double A to the majors. I get it, but how many of these guys quietly with what's going on? I think Jack's still in Quad Cities with Blake, but how much do you deep down are hoping that these guys at least get a brief look?
Oh, I don't want a brief look. I want them here for 2 or 3 months. I mean, look, no, I mean, and I tell you, we got our 3 months of Bobby Witt Jr., but it was 2021. That was disappointing from the standpoint that there were still restrictions from New York that didn't allow us to take Bobby to Children's Hospital, get him out in the community to do autograph signings. And he's such a dynamic community guy, and now he's the face of play ball for Major League. So I tell you that because that's really why we want them here. Yes, do we want to see them perform on the field and on the diamond? Absolutely. But the Royals have good players, good people, in addition to being good players in the system. And we want, them to spend time in Omaha, see how great this community is, and to give back as our front office does. So, yeah, it'd be great when Jag does make a stop here, after Double A. Who knows when that's going to be, but the same can be said, as you mentioned, Blake Mitchell. The same can be said for Jensen. The same can be said for Gavin Cross, and on down the line. So, yeah, we're excited whenever they do, whether it's a week or whether it's a month or 3 months. We're excited to have them here.
Yeah, no disrespect to Gavin. I tell you that Northwest Arc, that they must be loaded up there in Double A because they got some talent from the Royals organization. There's a lot of guys with the Naturals.
Yeah, they do. I mean, look, when you have 20 players back at the AAA level, there weren't a lot of open roster spots for upward movement coming out of spring breaking camp. So, yeah, there's a lot of talent there as well.
Martie, not a bad problem to have when you're trying to repeat, man. To the victor goes the spoils, my man.
I need you to get that exit velo machine up and cranking for when Jack comes down. All right. That's all.
We're ready.
That's all I need. I just need to see like 110 off the bat. That's all I'm looking for.
That might be low.
Yeah, we're ready.
I appreciate
Thanks,
it. Thanks,
MC.
We'll see you out at the ballpark.
Yeah, first pitch tonight, 6:35. Hope to see everybody out. Thanks, guys.
Weather permitting. Let's do it, Marty.
We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, wrapping up hour number 2 here. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and we are joined now by Evan Bland from the Omaha World-Herald to talk a little more baseball with the Nebraska side of things. Evan, how are you this morning?
Hey, yeah, doing well. Good morning.
AB, we don't do this near enough, and I know you're probably like, why is this guy nice to me in public? Man, I think you fly under the radar, but you do such good work without a lot of kudos sometimes, I think, because you're just unassuming by nature. I have to say it out loud. You do a lot of good, cool things, man, and I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate that, David. No, it's great. Like, there's a lot of good stories to tell, and I don't know, I'm not the biggest hot take artist in the world, but I just think, anything we can do to connect fans with the people and teams they root for, it's just going to enrich lives. So hopefully that's what's going on. Evan,
I think it's the salt and pepper, man. It just oozes measured. That's what it is. It just oozes measured. You're pretty optimistic. I'm a terrible meteorologist, so I ask people smarter than me. 2:30 should fly, right?
Well, I think so. I mean, 6 o'clock was the original goal, and if it's not a Creighton, Nebraska baseball game unless there's thunderstorms in the area. So I think that's just part of the deal anyway. But hopefully they get this thing beat before the big ones roll in.
Evan, so I wanted to ask you about Nebraska's weekend series win over Oregon State because, there had been some signs of life, and DB called it out. He's like, it seemed like they were making better contact against K-State, but weren't able to get the win there. They kind of seemed to get over the hump in 2 of the 3 games against Oregon State. Do you look at that as a potential real turning point, or you think we'll end up looking back on that series in a month and be like, that was kind of a nice moment and kind of a weird season?
Well, they've already had a couple of those, right? I mean, they beat Vanderbilt, and then they weren't necessarily able to build on that. They had the pretty exciting comeback against USC, and then they fell flat in the Sunday game after that. And so here they are again with a really exciting home win over Oregon State. And this is a perfect week to see how you follow that up. I mean, you've got the 2 midweeks against Omaha and Creighton, teams that have given Nebraska trouble before, and then you've got a Rutgers team that comes into town this weekend that's been sort of a pebble in their shoe for the last few years.
Quietly,
so they very much so. In 21, they kind of cost them a potential chance to host and all the rest. So this is that's kind of the maddening part of the sport is the consistency. You've got the highs, the lows, but can you sort of measure that out and do it day in and day out? And I think the offense is the thing that you look at there, where they finally showed, as Will Bolt would say, they showed some slug over the weekend with some quick hit home runs, instant offense, clutch hitting. They were drawing more walks, cutting down on the strikeouts. Now you're facing staffs here coming up that statistically aren't as good as what you just saw against Oregon State. So, I mean, that's kind of where they're at. This is sort of a mental test where you're not on the road, you're not having to worry about hotels and limited practice time. Go out and do what you do. And I think the value of beating Oregon State certainly objectively is the bump in RPI standing. And I wrote about that earlier this week where
that's wonderful.
It was huge from a potential at-large standpoint moving forward. And then the intangible stuff's the interesting thing. What is that little shot of confidence and belief and validation do for this team? It was fun for the weekend, but what does it look like now with another busy week coming up?
Okay, so let me ask, how do you think they're approaching this? Is coming off the series win against Oregon State is obviously good confidence. Creighton, listen, the streak is well documented. 8 out of the last 11 have been 1 or 2 run games, so we know it's going to be played relatively close. How much of this is good timing that Nebraska is maybe trending in the right direction and you're getting a good Creighton team versus, oh gosh, we just had a good weekend series. Now we need to validate. And then all of a sudden you grip the bat a little tighter. How do you think this team looks at this emotionally? Good time to catch Creighton, or more of a we better?
I mean, probably the latter, honestly. Like,
Huh.
I just think these in-state games have tended to trouble Nebraska somewhat because, you look at it from Creighton's point of view. They're playing in front of 1,000 people or less a night, and every year I hear it, like the big crowd at Haymarket, or if it's at Schwab, like that they get up for this game. Omaha on Wednesday is going to get up for this game. Nebraska just got up for Oregon State, and now it has to turn around, and the challenge emotionally is to match the care factor and the intensity that Creighton's going to put out there. It doesn't mean one team's more talented than the other, but I think that's just been something that's really it's been tough for Nebraska to figure that part of this thing out. And maybe they'll prove me wrong, and they unlocked something last weekend and they're ready to roll. But I do think you got to factor Creighton into that discussion too, where they haven't lost a midweek game in almost 2 years, as ridiculous as that is. And their starter tonight's a guy in Ian Kuzman who was a weekend guy to start the year, and now he's found a rhythm in the midweek. So I think you can't discount what the Jays have been doing on their side. Certainly Nebraska's what they showed was the highlight of their season to this point, but we've just seen it so many times where Nebraska's rolling, Creighton's kind of doing their thing quietly to the side, and then this is their moment to stick it to the brand name school of the state. So I think it'll be a good game. It would not surprise me at all if Creighton was competitive or found a way, and we'll see if Nebraska finally can build on one of those big moments moving forward like they haven't been able to do yet this year.
I think Creighton's pretty good, and I know injuries have been a problem, and I'm a huge Sailors fan. Love his dad, love the family, and I look at what they bring to the table. I was going to say the plate, but that's a little too dirty of low hanging fruit. But I look at kind of an X factor, Evan, and I don't know if this is the coach or the player in me, like always looking for an angle. And he struggled to hit the ball a little bit from behind the dish. But how much could a guy like Haligso help in terms of emotionally setting the table on what this series means to the other guys? I would imagine it's come up a little bit, knowing what kind of personality Hogan has. Is something or nothing for me?
I mean, I think it could be a little something, yeah. And you mentioned all the close games between Nebraska and Creighton the last few years. I mean, Hogan Haligso played a role in that. He's been one of the hotter hitters in those particular games. So for him to be wearing red and white instead of blue is interesting. I don't know that Nebraska necessarily needs a reminder of what this series means or what this rivalry means. A lot of these guys have experienced it and been part of it, but to have one of the guys who was the heart and soul of those Creighton teams of the past in your dugout now to say, hey, let's go get those guys. Yeah, I think that can provide a little bit of an emotional spark. And, Haligso just had one of his better experiences as a Husker this last weekend too, hitting a home run on Sunday. And he's been off to kind of a slow start with the bat. He's been pretty good behind the dish. So, maybe this is one of those things, even on an individual level, that shakes something loose for him and gets him going a little bit and allows him to relax and have a little bit more fun and be a productive bat in the lineup for the next part of the season. But I do think, like, in general, like, this is such an interesting game to gauge the temperature of where this team's at emotionally, because again, like, anybody can get up for the top 5 team in the country coming to your place and trying to battle all weekend. It's a different animal to do it on a Tuesday afternoon when it's kind of overcast and might be spitting a little bit. And like, can you bring that same intensity and energy? And I think Haligso and that experience, it can only help Nebraska in that regard.
Evan, who do you sit there and look at when on Nebraska's lineup or their pitching staff where you say, hey, I know this guy's better than this. We need X, Y, and Z person to perform the way we know they're capable of for Nebraska to actually turn the corner on this thing?
Well, I mean, I'd start with a guy who's been out for the last month or so. That's Tucker Timmerman, who took that one hopper to the face against Vanderbilt in late February. He's on the way back, whether that's this week or maybe in a week or two. I mean, he's going to provide an instant boost to that bullpen. And I mean, he might be their first, second, third most trusted arm in relief. So that's going to be pretty key. And then I think you could point to a lot of guys on offense. I mean, whether you're talking about some of these transfers that have come in with really strong track records like Heligso, like Cale Frost, can those guys get going? Gabe Swanson obviously has struggled mightily, but we've seen what he can do. I mean, we've seen him go on epic heaters before. 2 years ago, he was an all Big Ten type of guy. Last year, obviously, the way he ended the season was critical for what Nebraska did. So you could point to like 5 or 6 guys, I think, in the lineup. Max Butenbach, if he gets a chance to play every day, like he had a monster summer and had the big hit, the 3-run home run against Oregon State. So I think there are a lot of guys there. And then on the mound, I mean, you feel good about Will Walsh on Friday, but I still think you're probably not totally set on what your rotation is going to be the second half of the year. I mean, Ty Horn struggled. Jackson Brockett hasn't given you a ton of length. So do you mix those guys up a little bit? Do you go to Carson Yassa at some point? I think he's got the ability.
Oh, he's got good stuff.
Mid-90s guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like tonight's a perfect example of like if Yassa goes out and throws a quality start and strikes out 8 guys, like that's the kind of performance that can move you into a Saturday role next week when you go back into the Big Ten. So I think that part's a little bit unsettled at this point as well. So a lot of guys who've shown it elsewhere, who maybe have some experience, who've been key pieces of winning Nebraska teams in the past. If some of them come together, I think that's kind of what you point to for a realistic outlook on what Nebraska's second half can be.
So let me ask you something, because a lot of people, we talk about Swanson a lot over the last couple of years, but his body of work says he's more streaky than anything else. And now he's gotten back-to-back slow starts during the season. You mentioned how he picked up. If we were going to kind of do some word association with Swanson, because he always comes up as a guy that's got to get it going, do you think now this is just kind of who he is, or do we still revisit 2 years ago in terms of his hitting prowess? We just wait for him to get hot, or is he a good hitter?
I mean, when he's going, he's maybe the best hitter on the team. I think for him, like you talk about word association, for me it's confidence. Like his best full season was 23 when he had the quietest 18 home runs that Nebraska baseball players maybe ever had, behind Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson. And then, in 24, I was actually going to write a story about him early in the year, and he lost his job like pretty quickly in the season because he wasn't performing. He got a chance and came back later and figured it out. And he would tell you that he felt some pressure. He came to Nebraska. I don't know that everyone knows his story fully. He came to Nebraska as a walk-on and went on scholarship before the 24 season, or at least partial scholarship. And so he felt the pressure to perform, and it didn't happen for him. And he finally kind of said, whatever, I don't care. And he went out and did really well to end the season. I think there was probably an element of that this year too, where everyone looks back on what he did last year, especially in the Big Ten tournament and the regional, and it just hasn't connected for him outside of that opening weekend. So I think as the weather heats up, maybe some of that confidence comes back, and Nebraska's offense gets to the point where it's not turning to him to produce. If other guys can pick up some of that slack, I think that's where he thrives the most, is when he's not necessarily looked upon as that guy who's going to make or break the day. If he can be their second or third guy, or have some protection in the lineup, I think absolutely the ingredients are there for him to have another breakout season. But yeah, I think ultimately when you look back on his career, he's a guy who has had some epic streaks. He had some real dips and areas of frustration where you wish there was more consistency. But the best part for him right now is his story is not fully written. And I do think in an offense that's very much centered on speed and table setting, like he's a guy who absolutely could clean up if he gets rolling.
All right, let me get you out on this, Evan. Ideally, if Nebraska's going to get this one done today, what's the situation on the mound look like for you if I give you over under 2.5 pitchers?
I mean, I would take the over. It would take for Nebraska to to finish this thing. I think Yasa can give you
five.
Yeah. He's shown that pretty consistently. And then depending on the situation, you could go Christo, you could go Worthley. They've tended to go freshmen in a lot of these midweek games.
Christo seems to kind of be getting it going.
He does. Yeah. I mean, I think he's embracing kind of the role, jumping into the fire. They like to say he's in the grease. Like that's where he likes it.
Yeah.
Like he just, he's that kind of guy. So I think I'd take the over on that.
Okay.
And I bet you'll probably see a freshman arm or two would be my guess as well. Colin Novacek or Gavin Blackowitz or
Blackowitz is
somebody,
kind of I'm thinking.
Price Bender, maybe someone like that. But, and Creighton too, like typically, like I mentioned Kuzman, like he's a guy who could give you 4 or 5, which is a little unusual in these midweek games for Creighton too. Typically it's the Johnny Holstaff sort of approach. So
he can shove. I
think
you'll like him. He's pretty legit.
I'm going to have to start doing a deep dive on the last time, like both starting pitchers in a Nebraska Creighton game went at least 5. You probably have to go way back. So we'll see how it goes.
I was going to say went more than 2. Evan, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Evan.
Appreciate it, guys.
You got it.
Coming up in just a minute, we'll talk to Mike J. Schaefer, Husker 24/7.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live, covering Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Here is Mike J. Schaefer.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Mike Schaefer.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Mike Schaefer.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Ryan Edwards, for me.
Here is Mike Schaefer.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by our friend Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. What's up, Schaefer?
Not a ton. Just stayed up late watching some Crown basketball to see Georgetown and Washington State duke it out. Other than that, I don't have a lot.
Hey, so it's
slow.
So, and I don't know how much Big East you get into. We've had these arguments almost all morning about how much Nebraska fans and Nebraska media pays attention to other conferences. Do you watch other conferences, Schaefer? Was last night kind of the first time you're getting a chance to get a feel for capping Georgetown?
Well, I live with a 3% Creighton fan. So there's occasionally Big East on the television. It's not by my choice, naturally, but it will end up there. the thing that strikes me, and this is really stupid because obviously he coached there for a long time, but watching Georgetown last night just felt like I was watching one of Ed Cooley's Providence teams with just a different jersey on. Like they all kind of just looked similar, played similar, just crash, scrappy, hustle guys. Like his teams always feel the same. I always liked watching Providence Creighton games because their styles contrasted really heavily to me. And it was kind of like Providence would always make Creighton, who wants to play a prettier version of basketball, play in this back alley game. And so I watched a lot of Providence. And so Ed Cooley being the coach at Georgetown, like, it was just the first thing that jumped out to me is that he's taken that style to a place where it used to be a basketball mecca, and now it feels like an afterthought. And so beyond just Nebraska playing Georgetown next, I'm really intrigued to see what he can kind of do there in the Big East Conference. So I didn't really answer your question that much, and I hadn't watched any Washington State until the last time they had been in the NCAA tournament, which I think was just last year. They were like at 6 seed, or maybe it's 2 years ago they're 6 seed. They were pretty good at that point. Last night, the first time I had watched them all year.
Yeah,
I was surprised that they were really they were dictating that game.
Yeah, seeing Georgetown score 85 kind of surprised me a little. But I told Ravi, and we shouldn't be surprised. You watch Georgetown, and they'll be the more talented team than Nebraska coming up. But it's just weird how they don't always play like that. So I was kind of just getting your thoughts because, I mean, they've got a lottery pick. They had a freshman of the year last year, although it was at an Ivy League school. Like, they're plenty capable. It's just seeing them score 85 caught my eye last night just because they don't always offensively look very efficient.
I can't remember the guy's name. Malik, help me out here. Malik Mack. I mean, he was on fire last night. I mean,
he is a really, really talented guy coming out of the Ivy League. I would tell Ravi all year, I'm like, I used to talk about this guy all the time when he's at Harvard, and it's just like he just hasn't been that guy. But when he's capable, Schaefer, like you saw that last night, he's plenty capable.
I don't know who on Nebraska can guard him consistently. Like, he's going to be a problem.
Apparently,
and then they crash rebounds, and that's going to be a problem. And I don't know that you can get away with playing. And I thought he played well in long spurts, but I don't know that you can get away playing Cale Jacobson as much as they did yesterday against this Georgetown team, because athletically they're in an entirely different class than where Arizona State was.
So were you real time when you're watching this, or were you thinking, oh, Coach Weber, good job adjusting with the small lineup, it's going to give you a chance? Or were you like, this feels like we're not taking this very serious? Like, real time, what were you thinking?
Oh, I definitely didn't think the second. I thought that he was matching up with the fact that once Phillips went out of the game, they didn't have to go big the rest of the game, and they were content to play small. I think Nebraska was always playing the long game in that Arizona State was down several starters. They had a short bench. They didn't want to get deep into that bench. I mean, I thought with probably, I don't know, I'd have to look back at the timestamp of when I sent a text in a group text, but I thought Arizona State's legs were starting to go in that second half. And I thought Nebraska was just, going to outrace them to the finish line. Like, I kind of feel like that was Nebraska's strategy for much of that game, is just, attack, and keep playing hard, because Arizona State's going to struggle to put together 40 minutes here. Keep yourself within striking distance, and then you're going to be able to run away with it. And that's effectively what they did. And they played better defense in the second half and forced those turnovers, ran out baskets, got easy baskets. Bryce did his thing early in the first half with some critical shooting that Nebraska wasn't getting until Connor Essegian showed up in the second half. So I thought they took it seriously. I thought Nebraska's strategy was to wear out Arizona State, and I thought that was effective by the end of it.
So, Schaefer, you mentioned Connor Essegian there, and I'm kind of curious what you're thinking in the moment as he starts to heat up in the second half. And I couldn't help but think back to his last performance that obviously didn't go well for Nebraska against Iowa. Just what are you processing we kind of finally got to see the Connor Essegian, or a version of Connor Essegian that we sort of were always waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been the guy who scored the points last night before. I mean, he had the big game against Penn State. It just unfortunately didn't matter because Nebraska fell in a giant hole and could not climb out of it. But he's talented. Like, there's no question that he can help your basketball team. The issue has been that in situations where Nebraska needs that critical three-pointer, the Ohio State game comes to mind. He made a couple of those. But then obviously you have the Michigan example. You have a couple other ones, throughout the back half of this season. I'll be interested what he looks like with a different version of Nebraska basketball next year with Rink Mast involved. If that helps him out a little bit, that there's another shooter on the outside that can do that. But I also think you're going to lose a lot without having Bryce and Jawan too. So I am very interested what they can do for Connor Essegian. I have no doubt that Fred Hoiberg can create the shots for him. It's just if he can find the consistency to knock down ones. And then more than that, if he can hit big shots late in games. And he turned it on late yesterday, and hopefully he has a great performance the rest of the week, against Georgetown. If they win, continues on, carries it into next year. He's going to be a critical player for Nebraska.
How impressed, or what, I guess I have to go back to what your initial thoughts were, that Bryce seemed to be so dialed from the jump, given kind of what he's accomplished and where he is in his career and then playing in the Crown. Like, what were your thoughts about what you thought you would get versus the guy we saw come out and play well last night?
Bryce doesn't strike me as someone who's just going to come out and say a lot. Like, I think he's by nature, a relatively quiet guy, maybe more introverted. But I think he clearly cares a ton about Nebraska. He clearly cares a ton about being competitive. I think if you were to pick up an object and there's two of them and you have a contest to see which one of you can throw it further, he's going to try, because that's the kind of, he's just competitive, And so if you put a game of basketball and he can play in it, he's going to give you what he's got. And I just think that's who he is. And I think he really cares about leaving Nebraska in as good of a spot as he can. I think it really hurt those guys that he and Juwan came back to make the tournament. They knew what it meant to Nebraska when they made it the year before. They wanted to be the ones to do it. I mean, it's the same thing we talked about Keisei Tominaga. Like, the guys that stick around for a couple years and they get that in them, that we can be part of the group that finally does this. And then when you don't, like, that's got to be really hard. But he's a competitive guy. He wanted to play. He wants to finish his career out the right way. I think at Charlotte, they went to the CBI finals. Is that right? And then he's in the NCAA tournament last year, and now he's in the Crown. Like, this is a guy that he played his best basketball at the end of his Charlotte career in the CBI, and leading up to that, he played his best basketball at the end of last season, helping Nebraska get to the tournament, and how well he played in the Big Ten. And then in the tournament game, he's playing his best basketball, I suspect, again here in the Crown, because that's just who he is. Like, he's a competitor. Chips are down. He's going to compete. And he also, I think, wanted to remove that Iowa game. That's the other thing. I mean, that was as bad a performance as he's had all year, and you want to move on from that. I thought he came out and he looked like someone who really had a lot that he wanted to prove. And like I said on Twitter, it's also, we only get so many more games seeing that jump shot. That guy's about as good of a jump shooter as I've been fortunate enough to watch at Nebraska.
One of the things that I love, that I think he's gotten so good at, is keeping his dribble and being crafty with the ball screens. They'll even reset it for him, and he knows when that thing is going up. It is a pretty thing to watch for him to play that little two-man game where he can get his shot off, because he doesn't need a ton of space.
Yeah, and the other thing that he did last night, and I'm jumping around a little bit here, I thought he was facilitating really well. Nebraska was not receiving the ball. Like, he had an incredible bounce pass to Andrew Morgan.
Oh, and I think it out of bounds.
Yeah, just shocked the heck out of Morgan. Like, he had no idea
for him.
Yeah. Well, and then he sets him up for an even easier one, and then Morgan can't take the ball with him. And so I thought you want to talk about crafty. I thought we saw some of the best passes from Bryce feeding people. And then you go look, and they got no points on either one of those. It should have been an easy 2 layups. I was pretty disappointed in Andrew Morgan on both of those situations.
Charlotte has another one too. He's in the portal.
Just go raid Charlotte. Is that what I'm hearing here?
It's not a hot take. I guess other people that study the portal maybe know more than me, but they have. He's not a clone, but very, very, very similar, and he's in the portal. Schaefer, I want to talk. I got to get you for everything. Well, we can do what we want to do. We got unlimited clock as long as you got time. Let's do. I want to do baseball first. Today with the 2:00 or 2:30 start. I assume you're going to shoot over there. Are you looking at this like as a fan where it's like, okay, show me that Oregon State is portable, or is this different for you because from a media standpoint, you understand conference, non-conference, in-state, what it brings, and it's something different when these two teams meet?
Yeah, it's definitely different when these two teams meet, but that doesn't discount the idea that Nebraska has played really poorly in midweek games for several years now, and they have an opportunity in front of them to kind of not only continue the momentum of the Oregon State series, but also chip away at this idea that they don't treat midweek games the same way they treat weekend games. And so Creighton's had their number. I mean, it was just last year that Nebraska had them on the ropes in late March and couldn't close the game down in their bullpen. So I think this is a big opportunity for Nebraska to just kind of continue to put one foot in front of the other. I mean, you're not going to climb out of it. They were 10-14 going into the series against Oregon State. They're now 12-15. Like you just have to keep putting a foot in front of each other, keep inching along. Try to get this thing back on the tracks. You have Big Ten play. You're going to be at home more. There was plenty of conversation in the baseball circles about how many road games Nebraska's played and if that's ultimately been detrimental to their ability to find consistency. But here you're playing in the state against a familiar opponent, someone that should give you a little extra juice if you've been around the program these last couple of years because you haven't beaten them. Creighton's pretty much owned Nebraska baseball. And so I think they have an opportunity in front of them to kind of do multiple different things. And they kind of just need to keep moving forward. And today presents an opportunity to do that.
Schaefer, because we keep asking this question, whether of you or some of our other guests, if Nebraska can turn the corner from Oregon State and have that be sort of a line in the sand moment where they turn into this team we thought they are capable of being. But I guess not to play pessimist here, but there is another side of that coin, right? That it does end up just being sort of this, they played really well for this series and then go back to being this sort of inconsistent team we've seen so far. And I guess my question is, what are the consequences if that's the case in terms of Nebraska doesn't ever really figure it out this season? Like, what does that look like?
Well, I mean, the consequences, the obvious ones, are they're just not going to make the Big Ten tournament. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament, and the season is a failure. And that's pretty hard to stomach given the expectations of when you're ranked at the beginning of the year, coming off of winning the Big Ten tournament last year, having a good season, looking like you were on the ascent. And I don't think it means that Will Bolt's job is up in question because I think he signed an extension here recently. And I don't think Nebraska is in a position where they're just going to pay a bunch of money to move on. And I don't necessarily know that they should either. But it just continues this unfortunate men's sports narrative where Nebraska sports right now are just unable to follow up success with more success. This peaks and valleys thing. And so, and when I say Nebraska men's sports, I'm just talking
wrestling,
football, basketball, baseball, more of your team sports, if you will, than kind of individually oriented ones. So just a caveat so nobody yells at me for that. But I think that's the frustrating thing, from the larger picture side of it. It's been tough to be a Nebraska athletics fan. If you don't care about Nebraska volleyball and even women's basketball, they put together 2 strong years here in a row now, but there's just been a lot of peaks and valleys of Nebraska athletics. And at some point, it's hard for people to get excited over and over and over if you pop your head out of the machine and it's whack-a-mole and you get knocked back down again. And so baseball has an opportunity here the rest of the season to prove that they're not this inconsistent bunch. But if ultimately, I think it's more likely that they are inconsistent. I think it's more likely that they can't build off of that Oregon State series. They still have issues in their bullpen holding leads. The hitting is going to come and go. You need multiple guys to really step up, and I don't know that they have it in them. But the consequence of it is that you wasted an opportunity to move the conversation forward, and you just reverted back to being same old Nebraska baseball. Pretty good over here, not so good over there.
So, Schaefer, if you're right and they aren't, some of these guys aren't capable of turning it around the way you talked about, like, what did we miss from preseason ranking to where we are now? Like, what did we make assumptions that just weren't true? Like, what did we miss if that does end up being the case?
Well, it's as simple as this. I mean, the expectation is that guys are going to take step forward. And if you can't get anything out of Gabe Swanson, Gabe Swanson didn't give them much until May last year. And then he went on an all-time heater. And the idea was, okay, he's figured this out, has a decent game against Vanderbilt. And you're hoping at the beginning of the year, or if you get good Gabe Swanson, that's a totally different dynamic in that offense. And I'm not putting it all on Gabe Swanson. He's not the only one scuffling. But you brought in Cale Frost to be a bat in the middle of your lineup, and he's really struggled. You have guys that went out in the summer last year and had big summers. I mean, just massive summers. Max Butenbach was slamming home runs all over the Northern League. And we saw on Sunday, he had power. I mean, that was a laser shot out in right field. But he had struggled. And so guys just have not performed at the level where you want them to be. I mean, Ty Horn has really, really taken it on the chin, even in conference play, in terms of just being that starter on the second day. You got guys like Jeter Worthy and Drew Christo have struggled with their roles in the bullpen at times to either keep leads or to keep it close or to keep traffic off the bases. I mean, so it's one of those things where you've had other things. I mean, I almost said Drew Carey. Dylan Carey has been a very, very good hitter for Nebraska. And Nunez has been really good for Nebraska. And so, I mean, you've had guys that have stepped up, but you just haven't had enough of it. And they haven't had a lockdown pitching performance. I mean, Will Walsh has been good. Jackson Brockett has been pretty good. But you don't have Sears. They really needed McConaughey to kind of be a guy on Friday to always give you that competitive fight on a Friday night. They don't really have that, and that makes me a little bit worried. Even if this team backdoors its way into the Big Ten tournament, I have a lot of apprehension about whether they have enough pitching to get anywhere that matters here.
Mike J, to stay with the local media theme, we're going to get to football. It is in March, but it's now April, so I feel safe. Of these two guys, and I probably talk to you more than most, I've got a facial hairless Coach Barthel.
And I'm going to say it looks a little different there.
Yeah. Found one with no facial hair. And Addison Williams. You got a chance to spend some time at practice. Your ear's fairly close to the ground. I know you do your due diligence. Which one of these guys of the two interests you more for the remainder of spring?
Addison Williams.
Okay,
it's Addison Williams for me. I mean, he's got a position group where they have, I think last count was 712 scholarship defensive backs that they have to, to wade through. I might have
7-1-2, big team Iowa guy. 7-1-2.
So they have a lot of defensive backs that they have to wade through. I think he's got to get guys. I want to, and I don't know what exact position Deshaun Singleton is going to play, but if he's working with Addison Williams, I want to see if there's another level that he can get Deshaun Singleton to. I want to know if there's another level that Marquise Buford can get to. I mean, because you have some of these older guys that have been in the program. C.R. Wright's only been here for 1 year, but he's an older guy. Like, is there more for some of these veterans, or are we at the point where they maybe be bumping their head on their development ceiling, and you've got younger guys that could be more interesting or that you're going to have for a lot longer? And we're going to get into that sort of awkward conversation of, is Nebraska better if they're letting guys learn on the field, or are they better letting guys that maybe don't have a lot more upside, but have all of that experience. Like
with how
I use Malcolm Hartzog as an example.
With how liberally they substituted and moved guys around in the secondary between those first two groups, they may be close to what you're thinking. Right?
Well,
as the rhetorical question.
My thing is, if you're, and this is really hard because I don't want to pick on any one player, but if we're talking about Malcolm Hartzog, and we all watched him make multiple mistakes in games, and then he'll be there for an interception or something. So you get the kind of the peak and valley again in an individual player like that. But would you be better if you're Nebraska trading out some of the veteran experience of a Malcolm Hartzog if there's more upside for some of these younger defensive backs? And they might make mistakes, but so is Malcolm Hartzog. And he at least has been given the opportunity to make mistakes and then see if he can still come through here. I'm at the point where I'm a little interested to see if there aren't some younger defensive backs that can push these older guys who might find themselves without defined roles, even though they're veterans, even though they were single-digit guys, things of that nature. Like I just don't think because you came back for an extra year that you're necessarily going to be better than what they have in that room. That's sort of where I'm at, and that's why I think Addison Williams is the more interesting of the two for me.
You know, Schaefer, it's funny because that's sort of where I was at last year, especially when they were struggling. I kind of just want to say, hey, like, I get these guys have veteran presence. I get these guys are more experienced. We're losing games with them out there anyway.
I'm with you guys. I see, Donovan Jones is in the mix. I mean, Caleb and Buford practically wrote. I mean, I see some of it, but I think you started out saying something interesting, Schaefer,
and then I completely ruined it. I do that a lot.
No, you went broad. I'm going to narrow it down with just Singleton in particular, where you started out by saying, if they find something for him to do. Did you pick up on what Coach Rule said in the presser when talking? Which is why I want to hear from Butler today.
To use him somewhere to better meet his physicality, I think.
Yes.
Paraphrasing it a little bit.
You caught
that.
I
mean, I wonder if he's going to be in an Isaac Gifford role or you slide him down, maybe even a Javin Wright situation.
You mean Gifford from like 2 years ago where they got
Yes, not last year's Gifford.
Okay, got you.
I do wonder if there's something that they can do because he's a physically pretty gifted guy and he can hit. And it's not that he lacks instincts because one of the smartest plays anyone made all of last year was, I think it was 3rd and short against Rutgers, and he came across the back of the formation, drilled the wide receiver or tight, whatever it was, 2 yards short of the end zone. Critical play. It was you have to make this play or Nebraska's giving up a touchdown. They give up that touchdown, who knows if they win the game. I mean, that was a huge, huge play from Deshaun Singleton that set up the 4th and short that they were able to stop. So I think that he has a lot to give. I worry because he was so bad in play action situations last year. I just don't know if I can accept him as a safety again. I don't trust his eyes. I don't trust his discipline. There's something that didn't line up for me last year. And I found myself out on the idea that just because he came back, he should be one of Nebraska's safeties. So I am very open and interested to seeing him used in different ways.
The only thing I really want to see out of the secondary, Schaefer, is I would love to see those guys play as fast as they test. And whoever's going to do that, that's who I want to see on the field. Because, we've talked about for a couple years now how talented and how physically gifted Deshaun Singleton is. And I believe that. I would like to see it show up on the field a little bit more. We talked about how Gift's going to test well, and he did. I would like to have seen that showing up on the field a little bit more. Whoever that is in the room, I don't care if they're, Ryan Kalkbrenner, 8th-year senior, or if they're a true freshman. Whoever's going to play as fast as they test, that's what I want to see. Is that asking too much?
Well, I mean, as well as I do, the difference between those two things is all between the ears. So it's also, are you going to find the guy that's able to process as fast as he can play? I mean, that's really ultimately what it comes down to. And I think Deshaun Singleton got caught in between. I think Isaac Gifford got caught in between a lot last year. Malcolm Hartzog got caught in between a lot last year. I mean, I think they have guys that can play the position, but I think they were caught, where their thinking or their eye discipline or whatever it was just had them out of position in really bad situations. I mean, there weren't that many busts, but when Nebraska had a bust on the back end, it killed them. They just couldn't survive it. And so, I don't know who those guys are. And that's why I don't want to just assume because someone's been a starter for 3 years that he's going to be a starter in this secondary. They have fresh eyes all over this program. This all happened for a reason. If he wanted to run a bunch of things back, Matt Rule sure could. But he brought in people from the outside perspective to get a fresh look on this. And if Phil Snow sees something different, if Addison Williams sees something different, these are guys with defensive coordinator experience and a lot of coaching experience. So I'm very open to however things go in the secondary. I'm not married to the idea that just because someone's got experience, they need to be playing back there.
Schaefer, you're the least of the Kool-Aid drinkers I think I know. So the next time around for you, what are you kind of trying to see if it was true or not the first time around? Or are you going back with something different in mind?
Really, we're just at the mercy of what section of practice we're able to watch, so I would love to see more live stuff between the defensive line and the offensive line, and we didn't really get that. So, for me, some of my takeaways are just very generic. Hey, that guy looked like he spent the offseason lifting weights and doing stuff and being active while I sat on my couch for 4 months. So, those are some of the takeaways that you have. I want to see, if I got to pick and I could watch a group go live, I want to see a lot of those young offensive linemen. I find myself intrigued by where Nebraska's at with its offensive line. I find myself wondering how much, and some people might just think I'm nuts for this, how much they actually miss most of the guys that aren't there on the offensive line this spring. How much they really need some of them. And again, I think a Gunnar Katula could absolutely help. But after that, I don't know. I'm really intrigued by this offensive line. I think a lot of how we feel about Nebraska by the end of September is going to be based on kind of how that group comes together and the way that they can create space for Emmett Johnson. I really think that's a lot of this. And so I'm intrigued to see, who's able to step up for him.
Hey, Schaefer, were you cool? Were you cringing, cool, innocent bystander watching local media yesterday? Everybody secretly had thoughts. You have any public?
I was very unaware about all of it until later in the afternoon.
I was late to the game too, man. I feel disappointed.
Which is good because you see stuff like that, and I don't need to participate, and I'm certainly not going to choose sides because I know both of them well enough. Actually, right. All three of them well enough. So I'm more than happy to stay out of it. I see all points of view. So that's my very political fence-sitting answer.
Oh, I love it. The diplomat. Mike Switzerland Schaefer. What the?
You're not going to get that very often, but in this case.
No, I'm just kidding. Schaefer, we appreciate it.
All right, see you later, buddy.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks.
More Hurrdat Sports Live. Coming up next.
What's up, guys? Kenny Bell here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. It is round 2 of Menu Madness, and I am personally voting for the Hail Varsity Burger. You can vote how you please, but be sure to come visit us this weekend. Enjoy some great food, some great basketball, and be sure to cast your vote for round 2 of Menu Madness.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico.
Well, it's a new era of Nebraska volleyball with Danny Busboom Kelly. What have been your first impressions of her and the culture she wants to set and continue to grow here?
She's been great. We've only had a couple days of practice, but they've been super loose, super fun. She's obviously a really great coach, and she's just really uplifting and positive, and we're trying some new things, so we're really excited to show that.
Well, Coach Cook was in attendance. He's currently getting mobbed by fans over here. His, recognition on the court, standing ovation so loud. How special is it to take that in with Coach and just see how much he means to the state?
Yeah, it's awesome. He deserves it. He gave his entire life to it for 20-something years, and I'm happy for him that he's happy and he gets to be with the grandkids now.
It's okay, Harper, jump in here.
Hi, everyone. But yeah, it's so awesome just to see all the love and appreciation for him, and we feel it too, and it's just awesome that the rest of the state gets to show it.
Thank you so much, Bergen.
Yeah, thank you.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Well, Coach, when you think about this journey, so many former players on the court as well, how special is it to see pro volleyball here and see how it's received?
To be honest, I'm blown away. And this is my first Supernova match. I've watched a couple on TV, and man, the crowd's great. They put on a great show. Level of play is really good, and I don't know, and the size of the crowd is pretty amazing. So this is great. Nebraska's the epicenter of volleyball in this country, and this is another example of it tonight.
Yeah, Harper, you know all about this playing at Nebraska. How does it transcend though to this pro level too?
Why are you looking at me? I think it's great. You can feel the love from the former Nebraska players. So I think it just goes to show the fan base and how much love they have for the sport, but also former players like Katie and Kayla, who didn't even end their careers at Nebraska, but they show them love and they're here for them. So I just think it shows a lot of love and support from the fan base.
What's it like seeing Allie and Lindsay out here on the court?
I love it. I haven't seen them in forever, so it's really nice to see them. And we made a TikTok with Allie.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are live from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. And just like DB and I have a great partnership, so does Centris Federal Credit Union with Green Path Financial Counseling. They provide free financial counseling to any of their members so that you can marry their services with the education you need to make wise financial choices. It's centrisfcu.org to find out more. That's centrisfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA. DB, we just saw some interesting changes come down in the NFL.
I am reading currently. The NFL owners, they voted to approve some rules changes. The touchback spot from the 30-yard line now goes to the 35-yard line. But how about this with replay and how it's going to work?
That's the one that I'm very confused by.
Owners also approved proposals to expand the league's replay assist system. Sources told Schaefer the on-site replay official will be permitted to reverse flags that are thrown for hits to defenseless players, along with fouls for face masks, horse collar, tripping, running versus roughing the kicker. The replay official will not be permitted to call a penalty for a play in which no flag was thrown.
See, and I don't know what to do with that exactly because
That's interesting.
I understand looking in things in real time versus slow motion, and they're different, right? But if it still looks egregious and violent in slow motion, I feel like you should be able to throw the flag. You should be able to go back and you can tell it's either a face mask or it's not. If you miss it in real time, why can't you go back and get that?
All right. So are you for how much legislation do you want real time though?
Well, so that's the problem is what you lean on now is the same thing you see like in basketball or whatever. They'll make a call,
throw it,
and figure it out later.
Yeah.
Which I don't like.
Well, they adjusted to not blowing the play dead for
fumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But I also think that it often causes some unnecessary confusion when it's pretty clearly a play is dead and they're like, well, we're just going to let this run out and see what happens. In fumbles, I get it because it's a live play, so you can't go back and get it. I don't really understand it with penalties. I don't understand why you can't, like a subjective penalty, like a pass interference or something like that. That one's really tough. And they tried to do that one for a minute, and they're like, it's not really working out. But face mask is pretty clear cut. Horse collar is pretty clear cut. Tripping, pretty clear cut. The only one that's a little subjective in there is the defenseless receiver. But again, that's one, if you are going to pretend to care about player safety, you should be able to throw a flag on that one retroactively. If a coach goes, hey, my guy got hammered there, go look at that. You should be able to go look at it.
Yeah.
And reward.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, like that's I don't
know. I don't like knee jerk. I always want to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my initial thought. I have to think about it a little more though. You know what I mean? Because I also don't want to. I am glad though you can't call a penalty for something that you didn't originally see.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
There's some things you got to go back and get.
Yeah, I think I like that.
So
though.
here's the problem though.
But I've seen this before, right? Yeah. Somebody will replay a play, and it looks like PI. It's not, but then they'll get you for like a face mask.
Right, but if you grab a guy's face mask, they should be able to call that.
That's part of the game.
Come on, man. Like, there's some stuff I agree. If you don't want to go back and get PIs, I get it. And holding should be off the table because that's a messy one, right? Even if you want to go as far as defenseless receiver being off the table, I can accept that. But like face mask, tripping, and horse collar are very easy. And here's part of the problem is you've got a bunch of really big bodies moving really quickly, and you've got a bunch of middle-aged dudes trying to catch up. Mm-hmm. They're going to miss some stuff.
And some middle-aged ladies.
Some middle-aged dudes is gender neutral. Don't worry about it.
Shouldn't there be?
Is that on the list?
Shouldn't there be a slight amount of that though? I mean,
why do you want people to get it wrong, Shane? That doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean a little bit of human error. I mean that's just the way
that's
it
called
is.
Getting it wrong.
It is, but I mean it's been that way for 100 years.
Is that a good reason to keep doing anything because it's been that way?
So we're gonna computerize everything and make everything 100% where every single little. I mean it'll come down to where every single little movement on the football field is analyzed.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having it challenged for these very specific things that are not subjective. You either grabbed a guy's face mask or you didn't.
Well, I'm just saying
you brought him down by the horse collar or you didn't. You either tripped him or you didn't. I'm not talking about holding and pass interference and all these other ones that are subjective. I'm saying you should be able to throw a challenge flag on that and be like, hey, he grabbed my guy's face mask. Go call the penalty. That's not crazy. Sometimes because of the way
I like it the other way, where if a flag was thrown, you can go back and look at it with one shot, like the UFL.
And pick it up.
But I don't like where
I'm
you
fine with
don't
both.
throw one and then you can.
I would rather not have guys throw it every time thinking, oh, if I don't throw this, I don't get a chance to look at it.
Because I'm one of those guys. I watch the UFL. Do you watch the UFL?
Some.
You're a hater.
I'm not a hater.
Hey, Shane, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of sports watching? Don't get all specific with what sport, just level of sports watching.
Yes, 5.
Okay. What about you?
Probably, if you're a 10, which I think you are, I'm probably an 8.
Okay. Do you watch exhibition?
Exhibition anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane, do you watch exhibition anything?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what's interesting about that?
What's that?
People care.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. Let me ask you another question. If Colorado scrimmages North Carolina in the spring, which, by the way, weird, did not pass, would you have watched?
Oh, the Syracuse one?
Syracuse is Fran. That's right.
Yeah, I absolutely would have watched.
Shane, would you have watched Colorado and Syracuse in the spring?
No, probably not.
See, I would have.
I would have, absolutely. So, but I'll watch spring games like inter-squad.
Me too.
Anyway, right?
Me too.
So I'll watch, I watched Colorado's spring game the last time it was televised, and it wasn't against anybody else. I would absolutely watch a exhibition between two colleges.
So where are you going with this?
I don't think I'm kind of back on this seasonal when our interest is peaked. I think this is on the heels of yesterday, kind of, but it's more where I'm going with this is how the NFL tries to be 365.
Yeah, it controls the calendar. We hear that all the time.
College football is a lot like that.
Yeah, they're trying to be year-round.
It's just
it's been that way with a while with recruiting and all, and
but it's
spring ball
kind of crept into, and it started with kind of a negative connotation about no downtime and the calendars overrunning in December. I just find it interesting now how, again, on the heels of revenue sharing, the Big East or football conferences versus non-football conferences, how depending on what school you're at. Is this going to be an advantage or a disadvantage if you're not on the 365-day frontal lobe calendar?
Yeah. It's going to be harder for more casual fans, I think.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be harder for people to catch up. The other thing is I was having this conversation with a friend of mine that's a Creighton basketball fan, and she was like, I hate this part of the season because I don't know who's going to be on the team next year. And I go,
that's the new phase.
And I go, I love it because you get this. I find it exciting, but I've always liked transactions in sports, right? I'll go all the way back.
You like free agency and stuff like that?
Yeah, I used to be back when it was a bigger deal, MLB trade deadline. I loved it. MLB trade deadline was a ton of fun, especially when like early internet days and you're on like rotoworld.com trying to figure out who gets traded.
I would update my games manually on
and like systems?
the platforms.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
it happens.
It's archaic. They do it real time for you. But that was always a big deal. My buddy Brian and I, we'd look at the free agency, the NBA trades, and we wanted to keep and you could put the memory card in and we'd say, hey, are these the updated rosters or not? Like that was the thing.
I liked all that. I was an early adopter of recruiting. I love figuring out who's going to be on the team, trying to figure out, and part of it's one of the only things from like my coaching past that I think kind of still sticks with me. I like trying to do the evaluations, be like, well, I think that guy's going to be good, or I don't know about that guy over there, or I really like his measurables. Let's see if we can figure it out. I like doing all of that. I like doing the deep dives. I mean, I was texting you this weekend, like joking, but half serious about like, I'm scouting point guards for
No, you weren't joking.
No, I'm like,
I mean, he landed at Michigan, but
I kind of liked him. But,
he changes Michigan's trajectory quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about Elliot Cadeau, by the way.
Because that's the guy I was like, hey, what do you think about Cadeau? And I never even heard Creighton was interested. I'm just going through point guards. And like, oh, who would I like? So it's kind of a silly exercise, but I like that part of sports. I like scouting. I like evaluating. I like sort of figuring out roster building and all this sort of stuff. That part interests me. So I like off seasons.
I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I asked this question out loud. In my former life, I said, do you think Nebraskans are prepared? They want to win. This was on the heels of, hey, man, we just want to win. Urban Meyer's name was coming up for like this. This is all in the mix of things. Like, what would we do if we could just win games? And I asked the question out loud. And I said, are we prepared for the processing of players in and out of the program?
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Right?
Yeah.
For the sake of winning and you not having a chance to get familiar with guys or to say, hey, man, at least they got their degree. This was pre-COVID. I said this.
Yeah.
I still don't think we've transitioned.
I don't.
And we've had time.
Yeah. I think there's some people who are probably never going to be okay with it. That's just a part they're always going to struggle with. They'll like it on Saturday still, but it'll just be a lot different for them in how they kind of process and feel about things.
And maybe we haven't had to deal with it yet because both the teams that you cheer for, Nebraska football, is still doing it. Like the bulk of their roster is guys that they went out and they're developing.
Yeah.
The other team that you love, Creighton, the bulk of that roster
highly developmental.
is highly developmental.
Yeah.
So you haven't really had to transition
not
fast.
Really. Not really. Now, there is another team that I like and root for.
Florida State.
In Florida State that has done a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of roster turnover year by year. Norvell still has not figured out how to recruit a high school quarterback, so it's figuring out plug and play every year.
I think,
spot.
Robbie, I think with both these sports, college and the NFL, they're going to be 365 a day year sports,
which I like.
They just are. I think, and I don't know what that means for basketball in March or listen. You think I don't want to talk like the last two spots in the NHL in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
I just don't know when now.
Yeah.
What's my favorite sport?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah. When do we talk baseball?
You think I don't want to talk baseball?
Yeah, I've been trying. I've wanted to. Been trying to
I see it every day.
get picks in for the.
I see it every day on the write-up.
And what do we end up on? Something else, right? We end up on something else. It's the same way. Like, I love the NBA. I love NBA free agency. I think the player movement in the NBA is fascinating.
Well, and it's gotten so much better now too because big names move.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I like the NBA and their transaction market is because it's not. That's why the MLB trade deadline isn't as sexy anymore, right? You don't really see the big names moving in season. You do in the off season now. But
although don't think I'm not already starting to look at some of these starts for teams about guys that'll be available at the deadline.
Talking about one Rafael Devers.
Brewers, I'm looking at you. A couple young arms on that staff.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to make a play for Yelich at the deadline.
Oh, 100%, and they should. But
I don't know. I'm not picking on the Brewers because I love Lane Grindle, but
no, but you picked him as a regression candidate.
Yeah, and that's But there's also two teams that I like in the Central that I think will be better.
Cardinals
and
Reds.
Cubs.
Oh,
I'm not on the Reds hype train.
Okay.
Some people are.
Yeah.
I'm not on the Reds. I'm on the Cardinals and Cubs.
I don't have a really good reason in terms of overall roster. I really like Ellie De La Cruz, and I love Tito Francona.
He's unbelievable.
Ellie or Tito?
De La Cruz.
Yeah, he's incredible.
And now he's swinging a torpedo, and he just goes for 7 ribs.
He may never miss again. You may never get him out again.
Be terrified to play third base.
Oh my God. Yeah. I want nothing to do with that. I'd be playing that softball rover spot. If I'm in third base, I'm in the grass. Like, get out of here. That dude. And you're not throwing him out anyway because he runs faster than anybody in the league. Like, that dude's unreal.
Yeah, I used to see guys like Sailors playing Nolan's dad.
Yeah.
Be playing third base in like shallow left field. I'm like,
there's certain guys I would against.
I'm like, this is kind of dumb. Like, why are they doing this? And then
it's
I'd be on defense playing against those guys, and I was like,
oh, that's why.
I just as soon stand out in the parking lot.
It's scary down there.
I feel a lot safer. No, but I say that about the sports calendar. It might be us that have to adjust. Because there's something about college football and the NFL every day. And watch what happens on the 7th.
Yeah.
With April 7th. College sports will be.
It will dominate.
Again.
Once again. And I don't know that college basketball will ever get to 365, but it's creeping. It's creeping in other parts of the calendar.
So this year will help because you have 4 amazing basketball teams that could all win it.
Yeah.
And the Final Four. That unto itself should be dominant.
And then we've got 2 local teams trying to put rosters together. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back tomorrow with more Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.